really this is a matter for the MASH unit. I'm a little bit surprised that a 12-year-old could be out driving about. He seems to have done it before. I mean, this is the surprising bit for me. He seems like, he has done it on more than one occasion. So I am a little bit surprised that his parents also do not know where he is and that he's taking the car keys and he's not having a jolly good time on a public roadway.
Wow.
So it's pretty crazy. But we will try to reach out to the RCIPS for a comment on this one, because we know in the past, remember there was another video of a kid driving a truck a couple years back?
I don't.
Yeah, and he was like shifting gears and everything, and people thought, oh, that was so impressive. And so in that instance, the RCIPS did actually look into it, and they asked some questions and addressed it with the parents. So I do feel like they do care. I don't know how much they're paying attention to social media, but hopefully they saw it and they've already started to make the necessary increase. But pretty wild to see it.
Yeah.
Well, it's a news story.
Government is contemplating term limits for foreign civil servants. So this is kind of interesting. Probably a hot topic for debate. We'll touch on it certainly during the show this morning. But basically, as the island's largest employer, the civil service has always been exempt from term limits. And so 31% of the civil service is said to comprise of non-Caymanians. And that's interesting because now they could be looking at being eligible for some sort of a rollover scheme, just like everybody else. Yeah. So we'll see. Keep you guys updated on the dialogue around that, and if anything comes out of it.
Yeah.
WORC making some changes that they want people to be aware of. So please know that if you submit work permits or you're an agency, you better make sure that you're up on all of the latest with the workforce opportunities and residency Cayman. They're undergoing a transition period and introducing some new changes in services. So as of tomorrow, their jobs portal is going to go offline for a bit. It's no longer going to be available. So that includes payments, job seeker registration, employer registration, posting of jobs, and so on is not going to be online. The customer care center is going to be locating to Artemis House. That's at 67 Fort Street. So that takes place on June the 3rd. And at that location, they're going to offer the similar things as what they did at Apollo House. So payment, submission of applications, passport endorsements. And then they're going to do, as of the 3rd, the job portal will be back online. And it's going to be offering reduced online services available on the 3rd. And then they say that this is an anticipation of a new payment service being fully launched on the 18th of June. So we're going to have some downtime basically with the online services, and there's some transitionary stuff that's going on. Just make sure that you keep all of your things up to date if you're a person that's on time and so forth. Don't wait till the last minute to get it sorted out.
Yeah.
All right, very good.
Yep. Can I give you one feel-good story?
Sure.
Right. So we had a young man. I'm just trying to grab his name. There were so many stories over the weekend. He was actually representing Cayman in NASCAR. Did you guys see that one? That was pretty cool.
I don't think it was NASCAR.
It was Indy 500.
Indy. Oh, was it Indy? Oh gosh.
Or Formula, like
Indy 500.
Yeah. Okay. He was racing.
That's cool.
So yes, young Kiffin Simpson. He was taking on the IndyCar series. Only 19 years old. Congratulations to him. He's competing on May 26th. I didn't hear if he won or not. I guess I would have heard if he won, but
he did not win, but he did well.
He did well, yeah.
It's still a big deal to even be in a race. He's the youngest participant and first racer for the Caribbean to compete in the event. Born in Barbados and raised in the Cayman Islands. Super exciting. So congrats to...
we know how you got really good at it.
I was going to say, is he the youngest besides the 12-year-old?
Well, he did say that he started his racing career at age 9.
Yeah,
his first
racing over the go-kart track over in Industrial Park.
No, listen, this was a proper environment with
a proper environment. We kid, but
this is not on a public roadway,
right?
Crazy,
endangering others.
Yeah. All right, guys.
Thanks, Sandy. We'll look for that update tomorrow.
Day. Wonderful.
Yep.
Bye.
All right. Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing? Happy Tuesday. We're going to grab some links to send out. Give me one quick second here. We got our social media folks online now. Good morning to everybody on Instagram. Hope that you guys are doing well. Grabbing the links for everybody else on WhatsApp. Hope you guys had a good weekend. I got a lot to tell you about. So much happened over the weekend. Oh my gosh. You guys, I know you want to know, where was she? I'll tell you all the details. I had a little issue with my travel. My travel plans got, I had to miss a flight. Oh my gosh. I've missed very, very few flights in my entire life. And so this is one of them. And I had to just take it in stride. But you know what? Today is Tuesday, and you guys know what happens on Tuesday. We have a fantastic time with the good folks over at Health City, Cayman Islands. And today is going to be no exception to that. In fact, they're giving us a 2-for-1 day. We're going to be talking about World MS Day and also Wellness Month for the month of June. So we have joining us in the studio, none other than Mr. Shamari Scott. Good morning.
Good morning, Sandy. How are you doing?
I'm good. Chief Business Officer, and looks like he's in a different room today. What's going on?
Yeah, I got upgraded. So hopefully the internet is better in here. And it's a glorious Tuesday. Good morning, Cayman Islands. Good morning, Sandy. And you know how I usually have my coffee mug, right?
Yes.
That's usually very unique. I have an even better coffee mug today.
Oh no, you didn't. You guys won.
So you see, my coffee mug is the over 40 championship trophy that we have, and this was the first ring that we won many years ago, right after COVID, and this is the second iteration of the over 40.
Way.
So
you guys actually get rings for real?
Yeah, we get rings.
Gosh,
we get rings. So we got 2 rings.
Amazing.
This was the first one, and then this is the second one. So back-to-back champions. So, you know.
Oh my gosh.
Even though my Dolphins didn't do well and my Lakers also didn't do well, you know.
You pulled through.
Yeah, we pulled through here in the Cayman Islands for the over 40 league. So the dream team, it was the old national under 14 team that got together all those years later. We put our knees and our hamstrings and our Achilles on the line and lost about 5 players in the battle, but still had enough to complete the war. You know how it goes when you reach over a certain stage.
So what's our little friend Kyle up to this morning? I mean, you know, loser.
I didn't bring up his name. You know, he'll have to write into you or tell you how he feels about it. But it definitely was a good game. It was a good game. We won by 10 points this time, so nice. It was definitely competitive. We got in foul trouble early, which hindered us a little bit, but we definitely pulled it out. And a big shout out to One Sports Cayman, who organizes the league. They do a great job, as you can see, with a trophy, with rings.
Yes.
They always stream it. They have a large following as well in the Philippines, so they stream it. And because we have quite a few teams that are predominantly from the Philippines in the league as well. And they live stream it, and you know they have highlights, and they have players of the week and MVPs, and they do a really great job. So big shout out to
Well, somebody says that that you just make some terrible choices in teams that you
I don't think so.
And then they say go Boston.
Well, so Boston has reached the finals in the NBA. Dallas will win tonight and reach the finals, and then Boston will lose in the finals. So you know.
Yikes! Sounds like
Lakers have a half a championship more than Boston, so I don't think I did too bad with the Lakers.
Yes. So Kyle says that he is injured. He can't really walk. Bedbound for a week, so he's full of excuses. Sounds like to me.
He does have an injury.
You give him the knee on purpose. I mean, I'm
no. But as I said, in this league, there are quite a few players that get injured. But he did manage to play some of the game, and then I know he'll have to tell you how he didn't finish the rest of the game. But
I know
at the end of the day,
surgeons, so you know.
Yeah, we do. I can get you an appointment, definitely.
Exactly. All right. So, good morning to everyone. We're going to go ahead and welcome Dr. Ramnish into the show as well. We're going to be talking this morning first about Multiple Sclerosis Day, which is May the 30th, coming up here in just a few days. Good morning, Doc. How are you?
I'm good, Sandra. Good morning, and thanks for having us back. And
Yes.
congratulations, Shumari.
Next time we need to get you out there, right?
No, so me and Dr. Ravi have started pickleball. So
The pickleball.
La,
Okay.
la. Now you're
Well,
talking.
okay. So we're gonna have to put together a pickleball team then.
yeah,
Yes. Count me in, please. I will join the over 40 league.
So Sandy, it's as always, we thank you for having this segment with us. You mentioned that May 30th is World MS Day, which is multiple sclerosis. We at Health City, we treat numerous neurological conditions such as migraines, epilepsy, dementia. We have movement disorders that we treat, and also MS. Today we're going to focus on MS, but we also, just so that people know, we have interventional neurology services whereby we can deal, with aneurysms. We can deal with endovascular treatment for strokes and the such, minimally invasive as well. And that in and of itself is another program we'll need to come on and show you, even with diagrams and such, how Dr. Ramnish can go through a groin, for instance, and actually stop a stroke and the such.
Wow.
And that's very interesting. I know something that you would find interesting when we have conversations. Those are the types of things that you want to learn more about. So we'll definitely need to have a full program on that. And we'll also talk about neurodiagnostic capabilities. And the interesting thing is the theme for 2024-2025 is diagnosis. And as you mentioned, we have World MS Day, May 30th. So it only makes sense for us to come on to actually speak about, what MS is, the causes, the symptoms, and the risk factors, as well as the different treatment options, knowing that it's something that you actually live with. So we have Dr. Ramnish with us, who has been with us, one of our superstars here with us from the very beginning. Shortly after we started, we saw that we needed neurological services. As we say, the person is the whole entity, so you can't just deal with a heart and or a knee. At times you have to deal with the whole person, and that's why we look to fill all the gaps. And we saw very early that Dr. Ramnish's services were needed. And we have a whole neurosciences team now together with him and some other physicians to make sure that we're giving the best offering to the Cayman Islands.
Wonderful. So tell us, Doc.
Sandra, just one thing. I think Dr. Susant is also online.
Oh, my apologies. Yes. Good morning, Dr. Susant.
Morning, Sandra. How are you?
Hello. Good morning.
Morning.
Okay. Well, we'll give him a minute to get sorted. I think his for some reason his camera seems to be not.
I can see him.
Oh, there we go.
Morning.
Hello. Good morning. How are you?
Morning, Sandra. I'm good.
Wonderful. We got a full house here today. I was trying to see who else needed to come online. So good to see everyone. So, doctors, tell us. We've heard about MS obviously before, and I know that we've talked about it even on this program. But what exactly is multiple sclerosis? I know a number of people who suffer from this. So it's a condition that people have to live their best lives with as much as possible. But what is MS?
So MS is a neurological condition which affects the brain and spinal cord. What happens in MS is around your nerves, you have a sheath which is known as myelin. Myelin is the sheath which is responsible for the smooth transmission of impulses. In multiple sclerosis, for some reason, the myelin sheath starts getting attacked and getting destroyed, and this disrupts the smooth transmission of signals from the brain to the spinal cord and then to your extremities like your hands and legs, etc.
And do we have any idea what you said for some reason? So it sounds like we don't really know exactly what causes it.
No, so it's most probably thought to be an autoimmune condition. We don't know exactly what causes it. Why some people are more prone to get it. Yes, but the exact cause it is autoimmune in nature.
Yes. Interesting.
So we
All
we
right.
basically we basically know the process why it happens, but what exactly triggers the body's immune system to attack its own cell? Which specific trigger does it? That's still a mystery. We don't know what triggers it in each and in an individual.
Mm-hmm. And it's something that can be triggered at any point in your life.
So it's more commonly seen in younger people. So the typical age group is in 20s, 30s, and up to 40s. More commonly seen in females, and yeah. So
Yeah.
it's generally in the younger years where we see it.
Interesting. And this year's theme is diagnosis, and it's the campaign is My MS Diagnosis. Trying to navigate this together. So, why is it so important to get a proper diagnosis for MS? Because it can mimic a lot of other things. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Yes.
So the thing with MS, the symptoms can be very, very non-specific. The patient can have visual symptoms, can have sensory symptoms, may develop weakness transiently on one side of the body. The reason for this year's theme is they want to start getting people the correct diagnosis as soon as possible. It has been shown that some patients, it may take years before they get the proper diagnosis of multiple sclerosis. So the aim is to get the correct diagnosis and start treatment as soon as possible, because there is now very good and effective treatment available for multiple sclerosis.
Very good. So, again, folks, World MS Day being celebrated this Thursday. International awareness for everyone affected by MS and anyone, family members, friends, and others in the community. Really just bringing together the global MS community to share their stories, raise awareness, and campaign for change. And of course, getting a proper diagnosis is extremely important. So there's some global barriers for diagnosing MS. So let's talk about maybe what some of those are and how well is it being diagnosed, in your opinion, Stocks, here in the Cayman Islands?
So the main barriers, I think, internationally for the diagnosis for multiple sclerosis is actually reaching the appropriate doctor. That would be a neurologist. As I said, sometimes the symptoms can be visual, it can be sensory, like tingling, numbness, etc. In the Cayman Islands, I think it's still, we've seen patients who've not had the appropriate diagnosis for almost 2 years. They have had symptoms on and off. They go to a local doctor. It's difficult to pick it up. So yes.
Yeah, basically, see, MS requires clinical as well as a radiological input for the diagnosis. You can't properly diagnose a patient without an MRI showing up the typical lesions, because the symptoms can be caused by a lot of other conditions also. So it is
Right.
classical MRI picture along with the symptoms which gives us the diagnosis. And the advent of MRI, which is something which is recent, that is why MS is a disease of last 2-3 decades. It's been present since long, but we have been picking it up for the last 2-3 decades. That's why the treatments are something which is coming on. Now we are concentrating on early diagnosis. What we're looking at is the proteins that get damaged when the disease process starts. So we have already a standard protein called oligoclonal bands, which we can test for when we do a lumbar puncture test. But the focus is now to identify such proteins which will give a diagnosis in the very initial stages, like Dr. Octum shared, because we have a lot of therapy now. We can start the treatment early so that the patient doesn't have any residual damage or morbidity.
So really that's the key about early diagnosis, is trying to get ahead of effective treatment options for patients.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. So advances in technology, we see El Rey making some comments here about is that pronounced a myelin sheath?
Myelin sheath.
Myelin sheath has 3 functions. Fatty protein coating, provides protective insulin. So is this one of the things that is critical in the MS world?
Yes, absolutely. So that's the main target which happens in MS. It's the myelin sheath.
Yes.
So as you correctly compared it to a wire which has an insulation around it, if the insulation on the wire gets spoiled, the wire will not be able to transmit the electricity as it should. So in the same way, when the myelin sheath around the nerve gets destroyed, they're not able to transmit signals properly, and hence the patients develop symptoms.
Right. Catherine asking a question about, can MS be misdiagnosed? I know you've kind of answered this already because you said it mimics so many other things, especially in the early stages, the symptoms. So it's very, very easy perhaps for even, physicians, experienced physicians, to miss something.
Yes, so there is a diagnostic criteria which we have to follow before we can label anyone with MS. So as Dr. Susan said, it would be a clinical picture, how the patient has presented, how long he's had symptoms for, whether the symptoms have come and gone, followed by an MRI. And the MRI has classical findings which would suggest whether the patient has MS or not. Further tests with a spinal tap and other neurophysiological tests may also be done just to support the diagnosis. We also run a whole panel of blood tests to rule out mimics, just to see that it is multiple sclerosis and nothing else.
All right, folks, don't be shy. You guys know the phone lines are open, 936-2626. If you have a question for one of the doctors this morning about multiple sclerosis, please do give us a call. And you can also, of course, send your messages on the live stream or via WhatsApp as well. So let's talk a little bit then about some further details on, I know we've touched on this briefly, about how common MS is, how it impacts people. You already said that it's a, inflammatory condition caused by damage to this myelin, this fatty material that insulates the nerves.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
it's a chronic disease. It spreads over years. There's still a debate if it is an active ongoing process or it happens in attacks. Clinically, we see the disease in attacks. The patient will have one attack. He might do well for a few months or years, and then he'll have a relapse or a second attack. That is because the inflammation is a continuously ongoing process, and when it reaches a tipping point, we see symptoms. There are about 3 million patients worldwide who are suffering from MS. With each and every relapse, we have new neurological deficits adding on to the patient, making their life more and more difficult. So the whole focus of diagnosing early and starting treatment with options which are available now to limit the relapses is the key focus of all neurologists at present.
And an estimated 2.9 million people worldwide actually have MS. That's quite a large number.
It is. It's a huge number. In Cayman Islands, we currently have about 45 patients under our care for multiple sclerosis. There are also some who would go overseas for treatment. So not sure, but I think from the MS Foundation, the number would be around 100 patients on island, which is also quite high.
Right. Wow.
And the 2.9 million would be just the tip of the iceberg, because we are looking a lot of undiagnosed patients, especially in third world countries where MRI and other facilities are not available. So, like you said, this is just would be the tip of the iceberg.
My goodness. Quite shocking, really. All right. So, and we've actually had a young lady on the program. You talk about the fact that, if you properly manage it, you can live, a fairly normal life, making sure that you're being very, very cognizant of any symptoms that you need to address with your physicians. So it's important that you really prioritize your health, especially if you have an MS diagnosis. So some of the common symptoms include blurred vision, weak limbs, tingling sensation, unsteadiness, memory problems, fatigue. You mentioned that the blurred vision and the eyesight, and we saw this as well when we had the young lady come on. She said that that's how it first presented itself to her. She was having some issues with her vision.
Yes. So that is typically what we call as optic neuritis. That is most commonly the first presenting symptom of MS. So the patient would come in with a sudden loss of vision or blurring of vision affecting one eye. That usually takes them first to the ophthalmologist, and following which the ophthalmologist would then refer the patient to a neurologist for further evaluation. But optic neuritis is the most common first presenting symptom of MS.
We have a question here. This person says, my sister was diagnosed and treated with MS. but me with fibromyalgia, and we have the exact same symptoms. Could one of us have been misdiagnosed?
So the sister, I'm sure, would have undergone an MRI and possibly a spinal tap for the diagnosis. And he would have also had an MRI. So as Dr. Susan said, it is a diagnostic criteria which has to be met. It is clinical symptoms plus radiological diagnosis plus supportive diagnosis. So unless all of these criteria are met, you cannot label it as MS. So I'm not sure what test he had done in particular.
Right. So they said that, yes, she did as well. They had the same results, but one has been told that she has fibromyalgia and the other one has MS. I guess if you have any doubts, that's why the physicians are here today, to let you know that you could certainly speak to them about what you've already had done, and perhaps a second pair of eyes on your results might not be a bad idea. I don't think it's ever a bad idea to get a second opinion, really. Yes, you're absolutely welcome. She said, thank you. Okay, so mimicking a lot of things, but these are some of the symptoms: blurred vision, again, folks, fatigue, memory problems, unsteadiness, tingling sensation, and weak limbs. Risk factors. So there are a number of risk factors that can elevate your risk. Is there, I mean, she mentioned her and her sister, and it's interesting that they have, sort of two different things, but is there also a genetic component? I see family history is on here. So like many other conditions, there is some sort of a family history correlation as well.
Yes, so there is family history, which would be important. In Cayman, I think we have one family where two sisters have it, and one family where mother and son have it. So there is a family history to it, yes.
Interesting. All right. So other contributing factors: smoking increases your chances, age. So you did mention that it tends to impact younger people. Does that mean that people in their, 50s and 60s, if you haven't been diagnosed with it at that time, it's unlikely that you'll get it?
It's unlikely. It's very rare
Yeah.
to get diagnosed at a later age.
Right. And then women being 2 to 3 times as likely as men to have relapsing, remitting MS. Now, this term relapsing and remitting MS gives us a clue that there's different types of MS. Can you talk a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, the most common type is, go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, the most common type is relapsing remitting MS. You also then have primary progressive MS and secondary progressive MS. What relapsing remitting MS means is that you will have a relapse, so you'll develop a new symptom. Then the symptoms will go into remission, where you'll be near normal or back to your baseline. Primary progressive is a sort of steady progression. So you'll have a symptom, then the next symptom, but you won't reach back to your baseline in between. And secondary progressive is where it starts as relapsing remitting, but then the symptoms keep on building up, and the patient keeps developing new symptoms added to the previous ones which he had.
All right. And then certain infections. So we have the Epstein-Barr, which is a virus that causes infectious
No, it's the kissing disease, as it's called.
Yes. So, and what do we know then about the correlation of these infections and MS?
So the thing is, what they have found is you have high titers of antibodies in patients of MS, which show they had a past history of Epstein-Barr or infectious mononucleosis. Now, not meaning to say that everyone who gets mono will get MS, and not every patient of MS has these antibodies. It just shows that patients with MS have higher titers in some cases.
Okay. All right. Question here from a listener. The listener says, good morning, Sandra. Can you ask the good doctors if diet can slow down, reverse, or prevent MS? So I know we'll talk about, some of the treatments here, but how important of a role is diet in all of this?
Unfortunately, like a healthy diet helps improve your body's immune system, your strength, And that is very important when you're undergoing a chronic disease process, which involves loss of power in the muscles or the nerves. But there have been no specific diets which have been proved to help in the disease process as such. There have been a lot of studies of different diet types to see if they can help in the disease process or prevent recurrences. But no, we don't have a specific diet chart which can does that. But a healthy diet, rich in protein, carbohydrates, a balanced diet always helps.
Always helps. All right, some other risk factors that can elevate your risk of developing it. So genes, your race, so Caucasians are more likely to have MS, a vitamin D deficiency, which is interesting, and certain autoimmune diseases such as thyroid disease, psoriasis, type 1 diabetes, or inflammatory bowel disease, and pernicious anemia.
Pernicious
Pernicious, thank you. And anemia also contributing potentially increase in the risk as well. So very, very interesting. That's an interesting one about vitamin D deficiency.
But again, everyone with vitamin D deficiency will not get MS.
Yes.
It's just shown that patients with MS, some of them tend to have a lower vitamin D.
Very good. Miss Hope has a question. Good morning, Faith and Hope. She says, what type of MS is it that affects the shoulder? The bone on the left, pushing the bone to the right. Nothing much is showing in 5 x-rays done. Which scan is best to show what's happening?
So I'm not sure if her symptoms are MS related or some local shoulder pathology. If it is just a localized pain in her shoulder, perhaps an orthopedic would see her first and recommend an MRI of her shoulder. But very unlikely to be having pain in just one shoulder.
Yes, okay. So perhaps further consultation, Miss Faith, would be recommended. So some of the treatments then, basically there is no cure for MS, but there are ways to, treat it so that you can live, a fairly normal life. Does it always progress to the point where you will lose mobility? Is that always the sort of end result, or can you maintain, optimal health and, avoid certain degeneration or progressing of the disease?
No, so it will not always progress to a point where you become wheelchair bound or bedridden, which is why this year's theme is so important, because early diagnosis is what they're emphasizing on. The reason for that is if you start treatment early, and there's very good effective treatment available now, the symptoms can be controlled and the progression can be controlled. We follow up all patients with an annual MRI, which we compare with the MRI done previously, just to see that there are no new areas of damage as compared to the previous MRI. If there is evidence of disease progression, the patient may need a change in the medication he or she is on.
Very good. All right. So let's look. So treatments include medication. What sort of medications are being used to treat people with MS?
So there's several types. There are infusions, which we give once every 6 months. There are treatments which are given once every... It varies from patient to patient because a number of factors have to be taken into consideration. And one of the most important ones would be the cost also. Because some of the newer medications are very, very expensive. So we have to take all of that into consideration before choosing the kind of medication which we can start the patient on.
Treatment in MS is very individualized, like depending on the patient, the symptoms, the degree of morbidity, the activity of the disease. We have a basket of drugs which vary in efficacy as well as the side effect profile. So we kind of choose which is tailored to the patient with least amount of side effects. Of course, the financial aspect also comes into play. In terms of drugs, there is a continuous development, and we are not far from a time when we have certain drugs which have a finite therapy. Like you need not keep on giving those drugs, 3 doses or 4 doses spread over a year or 2, and that's it. And there are 2-3 drugs which are in the pipeline now and being used less frequently, but yes, we have drugs which are finite in the sense that you use it for a year or 2 and that's it. No further medicines are required. But I hope in future these drugs will become more and more popular. They have a huge side effect profile, so that's why they are not used very frequently. But I guess we will get there very soon.
Right. And of course, one of the important things is mental health counseling, because obviously an MS diagnosis is life changing. There is no cure. It's something that you have to be prepared to live with and to try to manage your symptoms as best as possible. So, Shamari, can you talk a little bit about the mental health facilities, just as a reminder, because I think a lot of people either don't know or they forget that Health City Camana Islands also offers a mental health division as well.
Yeah, so we also have psychiatrists on staff. So if anybody actually needs, they can definitely reach out to us, and um, we have many mental health physicians on island, not only with Health City. So if anybody's struggling, then definitely reach out to whomever you're comfortable with. But we also offer that facility here at Health City. And as you would know, when we speak about the bariatric procedures and the such as well, it's a holistic approach, and that's one of the reasons why we also have that specialty in house, to make sure that whomever is going through that process actually meets all the criteria, but outside of meeting all the criteria, is in the right space of mind to be able to keep up with all of the, not only therapy but prior, but also all of the healthy living changes that would need to actually occur to make sure you're the best person to be able to take it, because the goal is that you will keep that weight off in the long term. So we also have that division as part of that holistic look at bariatric as well. So, but if anybody ever needs help, they can also call us at 640-4040 or info@healthcity.ky, or go online in order to book to get a consultation if they definitely need.
Yeah.
All right, very good.
So
We do have, yes.
There's also a good MS support group on island. It's called as MSF Cayman. If people want, they can reach out to them on Facebook. Most of our MS patients are members of that group, and it's one of the other ways for getting mental health. Also, talking to people with MS, discussing which treatments they've had, how they manage their symptoms, etc. Yeah.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much for that. So 936-2626, my apologies. I'm restarting the phone. Someone mentioned that they weren't able to get through. I'm hoping to have some good news soon about our phone lines. Someone asking as well, what advice do you give for caregivers of people with MS to kind of help them provide better support?
So the caregivers, we would explain the symptoms, what to look out for, how to give them emotional support, things like that. We would also again refer them to the support group and look out for symptoms such as depression, and recognize those kind of symptoms early.
All right. And what are some of the most significant challenges in researching and developing new treatments for MS? So is there much movement being made in the world of research and development, medications on the horizon that could help patients with MS?
There are newer medications coming out frequently, which are showing better and better efficacy. When I say that, that means the patients are getting less relapses, less evidence of radiological progression on their MRIs, and overall patients are leading much better quality of lives than what they were earlier. So research is ongoing. There was even talk about a vaccine against MS at some point. I'm not really sure where that's reached till now, but yeah, there's a lot of research going on into MS.
MS research in all aspects, like the therapeutics, investigation, it's probably the most interesting research today in medical field now. And we have new drugs coming up almost every year, which are better than the older ones.
Okay, very good. Someone, I was just checking on someone who's a patient. She says that she's doing well. She says, I believe that my MS is in remission, and I want to ask a question about that. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program. Oops, hold on one second. We're not hearing you through the board. Just give me 1 second. Let me plug you back in. Yes, caller?
Hi,
Yes, good morning.
I had two questions for the doctors.
Sure.
The first one is what advancements have been made in understanding the cause of MS and how close are we to finding a cure? That's my first question. And my second question is, how do comorbid conditions, things like such as depression, anxiety, or other autoimmune diseases interact with MS?
Yeah. So how finding a cure for MS? There is a lot of research going on in the field of MS, looking at, first of all, what causes it. As I said, they're looking into trying to find a vaccine which may be able to prevent MS. But the treatment options have improved significantly. There's very, very good and effective treatment out there. Coming to your second question about comorbidities, yes, they do play a major role. You mentioned depression, so that can have a major impact on the patient, especially as you said, Sandra, coming up with a diagnosis of MS can impact them negatively. So we have to keep an eye on that. Other comorbid conditions need to be controlled, like if there's diabetes, hypertension, other autoimmune conditions, if they do exist, it would need a team approach to manage the patient better.
And then your other question was in relation to, I think you might have answered that, but advances really.
Yeah, it's ongoing. The research is very active and a lot of research going on into the field of MS. So we are optimistic, but yeah, it will take time.
Right. Thank you so much, caller.
I have one more call.
Oh,
one
yes,
more question
absolutely.
that came up. One more. I was listening to the doctor speak, and I just wanted to hear, the immunomodulatory therapies and, the role that they play in treating MS. What are the potential side effects of those treatments?
So the immunomodulators, every one of them has different side effects, but every patient will be screened to see if they are at potential risk for a particular side effect, and then a different kind of therapy would be chosen. So depending on the therapy which is chosen, the side effect profile would be discussed with the patient.
It's mostly opportunistic infections of organisms which are normally not active in our body, but because the immune system is suppressed, these organisms can cause infections. That is what we usually screen for and watch out for.
Okay. Thank you, caller.
Thank you.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. A few more calls coming in. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Sandy.
Morning, dear.
I have a family member who's affected by MS, or rather Devick's disease. This is the terminology they have given me from the diagnosis years ago.
Okay.
What relationship does Devick's disease have with MS? And the doctor speaks about the modern medicine. What can you name one or two, or just to give us an idea of what is available presently?
Okay.
Devick's disease is which is similar to multiple sclerosis, but it is a completely different entity because the mechanism of action or the attack on the body is specifically the spinal cord, which is more commonly affected, along with the brain in certain areas. So the treatment options are completely different from MS. So it is one of the mimics. It is not exactly MS. So yes, depending on the stage of the disease and the frequency of attacks, we have a few drugs which are helpful. But yes, if the patient needs to be evaluated in person to see what exactly he's going through, to advocate the most appropriate therapy.
Yes. And he asked for specific drugs that are being used, or for specific types of treatment that are actually being used to treat MS.
Yes, they are immunomodulator drugs, but they are not the one we use in multiple sclerosis. There are drugs like azathioprine and other drugs which we use, but they are not the common MS drugs.
Right. Okay. Caller?
Okay. Yes, Sandy, thank you.
Yes.
So since one last question. Since MS or the disease correlated somewhat, and a patient or a person might have to be living with it, mostly on steroids from my personal experience. As the time passes and more modern medicine approaches and, are released, What's the ease of access to getting these medicines, or just relative to certain countries?
So in Cayman, it's not very difficult to get these medications. You mentioned long-term use of steroids. We don't do that much anymore. So we would give steroids for acute relapses. But generally, we would use steroid-sparing agents, like Dr. Susan said, azathioprine. The advantage of those is you get the benefit of the steroid without the side effects of the steroid, like weight gain, diabetes, effect on your joints, that kind of thing. So steroids are generally used in acute relapses in neurology. But long-term use, we generally use steroid-sparing agents, like Dr. Susan said, azathioprine, etc.
Okay, very good, caller.
Thank you.
All right, you're
Sandy.
most welcome.
All the best
Absolutely.
for the panel. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you very, very much. 936-2626. I know somebody else was trying to get in, and we always want to afford everyone an opportunity to definitely have their questions answered. So let me just see. I believe this was a WhatsApp caller, but again, if you weren't able to get in, please give us a call back. Of course, Shamari, just remind people of how they can reach out directly to the physicians, both Dr. Sarant and Dr. Ramnish, or any physicians, any sort of appointment at HCCI is fairly easy to make.
No, definitely. So you can call at 640-4040 or email us if you don't want to call at info@healthcity.ky, or you can go on our website, healthcity.ky, and search for Dr. Susant or Dr. Ramnish if you want to meet them directly, or you can call and outline what the potential symptoms may be, and we'll definitely get you in to the physician that will be able to do at least a first level diagnosis before calling in the specialist. But if you have specific symptoms, you can definitely let us know, and then we'll tell you if it's Dr. Ramnish or Dr. Susant. And my apologies previously for not introducing Dr. Susant, because when I see him there, I thought he might have been in an emergency procedure, so I didn't want to ask Sandy. But Dr. Susant helps to really fill out the neurosciences team. We also have one visiting physician, but between Dr. Ramnish and Dr. Susant, all of the neurological conditions that I spoke about, as well as the diagnosis, these two gentlemen help to make sure that we have a world-class neurosciences team here at Health City.
Very good. All right. So we are going to switch gears a little bit here now. And we're going to be talking about also on the wellness side of things. So we're going to say goodbye to Dr. Ramnish and Dr. Susant. Thank you guys so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks, Andrew, for having us.
Absolutely. And Shamari, are you going to stick around for the next segment?
Yeah,
as well?
I will be here. I will be here.
Yeah, we know you're trying your best in that 40 plus category. So let's go ahead. You know, he's getting out there exercising, you know, he's trying a thing. So let's go ahead and welcome Ms. Rebecca Brooks. She is the head of marketing and sales at Health City Cayman Islands. Good morning, Rebecca. How are you?
Good morning. I'm great. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. So good to see you this morning. And we also have Christy Whitaker. And Christy is a senior manager for the marketing and brand strategy at the DART organization. So good morning to Christy. How are you? Uh-oh. And she's...
All right, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we almost saw you for a split second. There you go.
Okay, there we go.
So
How are
good
you guys?
morning, ladies. Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. So we're going to be talking a little bit about this Camana Bay Wellness Month and what this is all about and why it's so important. Rebecca, I saw you recently and you were so excited to be talking about it. And you said, I'm going to see you soon on the show. And you were talking about, you know, the steps app and everything. So you kick off and tell us what this Wellness Month is all about.
Okay, so we've been working very closely with Christy and the Dark Group and Camana Bay Group to develop more of a holistic wellness month in Camana Bay for all of the tenants and for the community at large, really. So it's not just necessarily for Camana Bay tenants, but we will be doing separate things within Camana Bay. So each of the organisations and each of the vendors are all going to participate in our own small ways and then come together for a big Global Wellness Day on June the 8th, which is a Saturday. And we're going to have some booths there. We're going to have lots of giveaways, like a scavenger hunt, so the kids can all get involved. We'll have photo booths for the kids, and we'll also have our Healthcare Explorer program as well there. So they'll be able to talk to parents and kids about going into the medical profession. And then alongside this, we're also having a step challenge, which is what I was talking to you about in the cafeteria. So the idea is obviously to get people and keep people active as possible. So this step challenge will be for the participants that are in the Camana Bay area, and they'll be able to sort of access the app and then compete against each other. I'm sure it'll get very competitive because a lot of people are very competitive.
Wow. Yes.
Some great prizes to win at the end, as well as being super fit for doing all of the steps. So yeah.
Yep. No, I mean, competition. I love that aspect of any app, really, because I tell you, as we can see from Shamari, every Tuesday competition drives you. It's a driving force in a lot of things that we do, and health and wellness is certainly no exception to that. I remember when I first got my Fitbit and they added the element where you could have other Fitbit users. You could kind of connect with each other and see who was walking and who was making their step goals. It kind of motivates you. You sit there and go,
definitely. Well, this is an app called Step Up, and you can see where each of those, where your goals are, how many steps you've reached, and we're already on it, just sort of testing it out. And even my own family have their own little separate group now, and it's actually, in all honesty, it's got my husband really active, which is brilliant. So he's ultra competitive, and now he's like, I'm going to beat you guys, and we're like, come on then.
and it's great
it too. And Rebecca, I see your steps. I see your steps, and I'm like, oh no, I got to step it up.
And it's great to see that technology has advanced to a point where you can actually see, you don't have to trust people, because back in the day when I was at the Department of Tourism, we were doing the steps, but back then it was like a little monitor that you would have to either put on your wrist or put it on your ankle that would manually take the steps. And I remember, I won't call her name, Davis. She was sitting at her desk tapping her foot.
Oh no!
It's funny how
to be able to
get the steps up, and she wasn't actually walking anymore. Oh my goodness!
I know I mentioned his name. He said that he was going to go on the boat because that would get his steps up even just.
Getting harder and harder to fool the apps. That's for sure. So, Christy, thank you so much again for joining us as well. So, tell us a little bit about why the DART organization and Camana Bay as a whole has really taken this wellness initiative on board.
Yeah, so Rebecca and her lovely team, they sort of initiated this idea with us. As you know, like Health City is building a huge hospital right alongside Camana Bay. They already have their clinic in here. We have so much other wellness services as well in Camana Bay. So it just kind of made sense to celebrate this like entire month. It's actually Global Wellness Month, and then Global Wellness Day falls on the 8th of June, hence why that event is on that day. But the whole month really is to celebrate and just bring awareness to the services and our various partners within the Camana Bay community, and just to sort of hopefully provide a platform where if you're like on the cusp of trying to like figure out, okay, it's coming up to summer and I need to get active and I don't know how, like this is your opportunity to come out and just understand what businesses are offering, and it's sort of building those relationships and community is kind of what we're aiming to do, and just inspire people to just get out and be active. The step challenge is one that I think the Camana Bay community is going to really enjoy, and everyone loves a little bit of friendly competition and just seeing the leaderboards creep up, and you kind of want to push yourself and motivate yourself. I think that's going to be a fun initiative for it's within Camana Bay for sure.
And
Wonderful.
we're also going to have some screenings as well, some health screenings. So they'll be on June the 8th and also June the 15th outside Foster's. So
fantastic. So how can people, I mean, do you have to work, live, be in Camana Bay to get involved, or what are some of the options for
so for June 8th, it's open for everyone. Everyone can come, even bring the doggies. There's actually a doggy wellness booth. We have Must Love Dogs within Camana Bay. So for all those dog lovers and cats or any sort of pet, we have Must Love Dogs out there. I mean, we have a whole slew of our tenants involved. There's like even down to ergonomic furniture with workplace environments. We've got therapists talking from a line. Even the restaurants are chipping in. So Edgy Veg is all a vegan-based restaurant in Camana Bay. And so they'll have some yummy treats to offer, sorbets to cool you down from Haagen-Dazs and gelato. There's lots of stuff, and it's for the whole family. As Rebecca mentioned, there's things for the kids to do, ways to win things. So I would just encourage everyone to come out to the 8th of June. In terms of the STEP challenge, yes, it is a Camana Bay initiative, but that doesn't mean that someone else can't devise their own STEP challenge. Maybe this will be a motivator for others to do that. And we will have various places within Camana Bay that if you feel like you want to utilize any of our amenities. So obviously the observation tower, 75-foot tower, run up that a few times and you're good. And anyone can do that, right? So we'll have little like motivational quotes and stuff and photo opportunities for everyone to participate in, really. So it's just kind of getting everyone thinking and active and motivated to be active.
Absolutely. And I think that Camana Bay is one of those locations, when I used to go to the gym there's so many opportunities to do stuff. Like you can walk, you can run around. It's a sprawling.
We've got our pickleball courts, tennis courts.
Yes.
Lots of different opportunities. And all of that you can book through the visitor center. If you just walk in there, it's all bookable or online. So if you're looking to host like pickleball tournaments, for instance, or tennis tournaments, like our sports facilities are there for people to book.
Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you so much. What is the name of the STEP app, Rebecca, that you guys are using?
Step Up. I think it's
Step Up. Oh,
yeah, Step Up.
I want to go check it out here. So I'm going to go to my app store. Shamari, have you downloaded it yet? Or you?
I have not.
I shall send you the link, Shamari, after the call.
I need to download it, but I have. Well, you can't see the elliptical behind me because I'm in a different room. But I've been on my elliptical, Sandy.
App or Step Up?
Step Up.
Up. Yeah.
Step Up. Okay.
Like a pale turquoisey green up.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So there was actually two different ones. And look, I already have one downloaded. Haven't been using it though. So yeah, might want to use it, right? Okay. I'm gonna definitely get on that and download as well. But yeah, a lot of us have Apple Watches. I think they have a step thing kind of like built in already. I love that the Apple Watch really encourages you to be active. It's got all the different major exercises in there. Even pickleball's on there now. So you can say, hey, I'm going to play pickleball for 45 minutes. Turn it on. It'll tell you roughly how many calories you've burnt and the whole 9 yards. The one thing that I'm always disappointed in, Rebecca, is, you're nice and fit. I've seen you. It's so much harder to work it off. Like when you see the few calories that you burn, you go, this is why diet is so critical and important. And diet is really 80% of the game, because what you put in your mouth, you can't always undo just with exercise or walking. So, folks, be cognizant that the diet aspect is a really, really big part of this, and just try to focus on that, understand that's 80%. Exercise and movement is critical for other things. But when it comes to maintaining a healthy weight, don't put it on in the first place. That's the best advice.
That's very true. Correct. Yeah. I think it's all in moderation, isn't it? And balance. And the app actually does link up with your Apple Watches as well. So it's not like you're going to be doing two separate things. And on that note of sort of diet and eating healthily, Bon Vivant and Edgy Veg will be doing some cooking classes as well. So we can always stay tuned to social media to find out a little bit more about those as well.
Oh, fantastic. Very good.
Yeah, that's actually a good point, because so there's month-long activities as well. So there's
Yeah.
the 8th of June event, everybody, and again, the month-long activities, anybody can join as well. But there are a few partnerships with businesses within Camana Bay, so like the Bon Vivant and Edgy Veg cooking classes. I think those are every Tuesday, I believe. I can't recall now, but yeah, they're every Tuesday. We'll have all of this online on camanabay.com very, very shortly, so everyone can go there and get all of the information. But yes, we'll there's partnerships like that. There's different discounts at certain stores of select items that they want to feature for that month that are wellness or health related. Yeah, there's obviously the step challenge that's going to run all month. And a few other things that we'll be putting out on our socials very soon.
Very good. All right. So check out their social media pages. Again, folks, it's going to be a wellness month. Just lots and lots of wonderful activities to get involved with throughout the month of June. So make sure that you come out. Big shout out to Health City Cayman Islands, really seeking to raise awareness around the Camana Bay's Wellness Center and just different products and services that you can definitely access at that location as well. So wonderful. Shamari?
No, just once again, thank you, Christy, for the actual partnership to be able to make this happen. And across the board throughout the year, Sunday we do different screenings in different areas and in different districts, and it's all about being healthy, and also the screening that if there is something there that you catch it early enough. With the advent of medicine and where we've progressed, there's so much we can do in order to make sure that you have life and or get back on the right track. Or if you need treatment, it's always best to catch it earlier, because the probabilities of actually coming out on the back end better is always much higher once you're able to treat it quickly. And I know us men tend to want to leave things until we have to go to the hospital, but that's why it's always best. Even you were mentioning your hubby, you were able to get him out and get him to come and do our executive health check. It's always best to do it up front versus after you find out there's a major issue. And the fact that we're going to be at the Camana Bay location means that the access is going to be great for 70% of the population lives in Georgetown, 7 Mile West Bay area. And then obviously during the work days, we know with all of the traffic that over 95% of individuals work in and around that area is going to give quick access. When we're open, we're going to have our inauguration, as I had mentioned before, July 11th. But we'll be open to serve patients probably the first week in August. And we're given that lag time so that we can have various tours so that individuals will be able to see the inside of a hospital. Because once we're open and we're treating patients, the regular public won't be able to see certain areas. So we're going to make sure that as many people as possible will be able to see what we're bringing to Georgetown. And it's going to be accessible to all. So if you have an urgent issue, we're going to be right there in town that you can access us and be able to treat every ailment that you will have.
Fantastic. I cannot wait to see it.
And just a reminder for, the 2 rings, keep active. My coffee, is right here.
Look at that. Looking good. It's so funny. He's wearing the 2 rings on the 1 finger.
Well, for some reason, these rings are not meant to fit other fingers. So they both have to fit on the
pinky.
They're made for smaller men, I guess, but we'll keep the pinky rings.
Go
they're for display. They're for display, right?
He can help you resize it. Absolutely. Well, Miss Madeline is enjoying it. She says this is so informative. Really enjoyed from the Bahamas. So thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us. So we've got people from the Bahamas, from Bermuda, from the UK, the States, of course, all over tuned in here every single morning. And don't forget, you guys can start your own community wellness programs. We keep talking about here in CMR that we're going to do one kind of neighborhood based. And so I like this app idea as well, because sometimes it's difficult to kind of coordinate with each other, scheduling and stuff, but the app keeps you moving and keeps you a bit more honest as well. So big shout out to Health City, Cayman Islands. We've got Rebecca Brooks, head of marketing and sales, and Christy Whitaker, part of the DART organization, senior manager, marketing and brand strategy. So thank you so much, ladies. And of course, Shamari Scott, wannabe athletic extraordinaire here every single week, trying his best. And I absolutely love it. And let me know, Shamari, once the pickleball team is put together, because, you know, I'm going to be on that team.
Are you good though? Are you going to help us to win?
I never said that. You know, I've got that.
We might have to trade you, Sandy. If we're losing too many games, we might have to trade you.
I am willing. That's the first step.
Definitely.
I'm always willing to give it my best shot. And so, you know, the heart's in the game. So yes, we'll be getting there soon. But I'm willing to, you know, you got to have a 15 over league, you know. So put me in that one.
50 and over? Okay. Okay. That's a few years off for me. So
yes. Old
I'll cheer.
June
is the month to make it happen. So
you know, I love it.
Looking out to see you play pickleball.
Absolutely. So thank you, Shamari, and thanks to Christy and Rebecca. And speaking of pickleball, I was going to wait a little bit longer to make this announcement, but some of you are already on to me. So I'm going to go ahead and let you know that I am actually getting my own pickleball court in my yard. I'm so excited about this.
Oh, very nice.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm dead serious. So listen, I've always had a dream of having a tennis court, like forever. Mm-hmm. And, you know, never really had the yard space. Tennis courts are bigger. So pickleball court doesn't quite take up as much yard space. Mm-hmm. And so we were thinking about a pool, and then pools are expensive. There's like ongoing maintenance. There's a lot involved, like planning. There's so much to do, so much going on with pools. A pickleball court is a simpler project, let me tell you. So big shout out. I want to do a really, really big shout out to Island Paving, because you too can have your own pickleball court. Give them a call over there. They'll come and look at everything, do dimensions for you, and they'll let you know what you can do. So I'm excited. We are waiting now for the cement to finish curing. You know, it has to sit there for a month. Mm-hmm. So we're coming up on that in the next 2 weeks or so, and then they're going to come and do the lines. And hey, so we need to have an inaugural match, Shamari. I'm going to challenge you to come and break in that pickleball court.
Well, you can invite Johan after he eats your brownies to actually exercise, right? After that.
Well, listen,
I noticed he's not online today, so I don't know what's going on.
Yes, well, you know, we've got some mutual friends who play pickleball, and they always said to me, you know, Sandy, Johan shows up a lot to the pickleball court, but he's only ever asking about food. Like, what are we going to eat afterwards? So I don't know how much exercising he's going to be doing on the court. He's going to, as you rightfully said, he's going to be showing up for the brownies. But yeah, I'm excited. Very, very
that's
excited.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Do something.
I didn't realize Island Paving did smaller projects like that.
Yes. And can I just, like I said, I want to give them a big shout out, because they are very, very professional. They come out and do an assessment of everything beforehand. And their crew was here working. Even in the rain, they were still managing to get stuff done. Amazing. So I was really surprised at how quickly the project went by. So very excited. And they're not going to treat you any differently just because you're a small project. Like literally I had all the heavy equipment here, the porta potty, like they were just totally professional. And I was just blown away. So there you go. Awesome. So Evelyn says, yes, isn't, I think she might've guessed it. She's like, yeah, I knew it. Cause I was like, okay, I'm working on a little project. You guys are being, I think it might've been her and one other person said, are you getting a pickleball court? So excited. All right. Thank you, Christy. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Shamari.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye. See you next week, Shamari. All right, folks. So yes, I'm excited. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Yes, all I can tell you, honey child, is we're going to be pickling all over the place. Come another, probably I would say 3 weeks to be safe. But yeah, they're going to be coming out relatively soon. So yeah, give them a call. Listen, it came down to the pool versus this. This was way less money than the pool. And, you know, the maintenance in the pool is a lot. So, and I knew in my heart of hearts that I would actually use a pickleball court more than I would ever use a pool. So I also thought practically like, what's going to get the most use, like really and truly? So I'm going to be pickling every day. Speaking of getting moving and wellness and exercise, I did get a bike recently. So I want to do a big shout out to Mr. Craig Marin. He was instrumental in helping me pick out the correct bike for me. And so really, really excited. He also took it and retrofitted it so that I was able to, get the seat right. All these things are important to having an enjoyable and safe, also a safe experience. So he made sure my seat was at the right height, got me a more comfy seat because, us Caribbean women, we have a little bit larger derrieres. So he had to make sure, get the right kind of seat for me and everything. Got me a nice light for safety if I'm going out at dusk or whatever. I can put on my little blinking lights, reflectors, my water bottle. So he kind of, set it up for me. And so I was very, very excited to get going on a bike again. You guys know I used to cycle. I used to, there was a time when I used to cycle all the way from Newlands to Georgetown and back again, honey child. We used to do that on Sundays, and it was so much fun. Now, I'm not too much into going on the major roads anymore, I'll be honest with you, because you drivers have gotten worse, I swear, over time. And we're going to talk about why 12-year-olds are on the road driving. Excuse me, say what? Anywho, we're coming up on that discussion. But yes, doing some cycling around the neighborhood, trying to get in a couple miles every day. And, even after just a couple times on the bike, I start to feel better. And my shoulders, well, this shoulder over here is hurting a little bit. But yeah, you start to feel so much better. So get out there, move, exercise, do anything. Do something, do anything to move. Walking, cycling, swimming, Pilates. You can do stuff in your home. You don't need any expensive equipment or anything else like that. Just get moving. Walking is free. The air is free. All this amazing stuff. So let's talk about a few happenings. First of all, I'm so sorry. I was away longer than I anticipated. I was really only going to be away on Friday. And so that's why Thursday, I told you guys I wouldn't be here Friday. And I was going to be back in the saddle yesterday morning, but we had a little unexpected travel delay. So, poor Camana Airways, they've had a couple planes out for maintenance. And so they're chartering flights and they're trying to keep everything on fleek, on schedule, and trying to keep everybody happy. And so on Friday, I was actually going to be going away just for the day. So you guys know, sometimes I do these one-day trips. Oh God, they're hectic, but when you just want to grab stuff and in and out, you can actually do it. So basically you've got 12 hours in Miami. You can do it provided everything lines up properly. Now, everything means there can't be super uber long lines in customs and immigration in the States, Homeland Security. And you know what? Lately, there have been people telling me that they go in and it's like a 4-hour wait trying to get through immigration. I'm like, what? I have never had a 4-hour wait ever for anything like that in my entire life, but it's happening. So prepare yourselves that maybe a one-day trip might not work out in your favor, because invariably, Murphy's Law, something is going to go wrong if it can. I mean, you just have to go with the flow, right? So I'll tell y'all what happened to me is I got to the airport. I was like, okay, ready? Got on my nice comfy shoes, got on my, pants, nice comfy pants. I'm like, okay, ready to go. Me and my girlfriend, ready to go. And the agent's checking me in. I'm like, okay, did I check in last night? The whole works. And she's like, actually, you're not checked in. And I'm like, I'm not. Well, I did it last night, I think. I'm like, yeah, I went and clicked on this and clicked on the seat and da-da-da. She's like, well, you're not checked in. And not only are you not checked in, but it says here that your ESTA has expired. I was like, my who? My ESTA? No. I'm like, wait a minute. I got that on my phone. Let me pull it up. Let me check the date. It's not 2026. And I'm like, oh gosh, no. Actually, it expired in 2024. So my ESTA expired. Then I was like, oh my God, this has happened once before when I was at the airport and I was quickly able to do it. So I was like, okay, let me log on. And guess what? It came in an hour later and the flight already had left. So the one flight that was going to be on time for sure over the last couple of days was going to be that morning flight. And so I missed my flight. And I have only missed 2 flights ever in my entire life. One was once I was in Canada. That worked out because I actually got to meet Queen Latifah as a result of missing the flight. So that's pretty cool. On the other flight, the catch-up flight, I got to see her. And I was like, oh my God, it's you. And all the other people are like, who is she? She's famous? I'm like, oh, you poor people. Anyway, so I'm at the airport going, oh, really? And, one day flight. And then this was a crazy weekend. It was Memorial Day weekend in the States. I think it was really busy for travelers. Sunday flight was full. So unfortunately, I had to come back yesterday. So I didn't leave till Saturday morning instead of Friday. And then because the Friday flight was some charter flight, and they were like, ooh, that's going to get into Miami like after 10, 11 o'clock. One young lady was actually in the flight with us, and she's like, it was like almost 1 o'clock in the morning before she got to her hotel. And I was like, no, because, I got to get to the car rental place. They're not 24/7 because they're not directly in the airport. So I was like, So we went Saturday, came back on yesterday. So I had a couple days in Miami. Big shout out to my good friend there, Mary. We had a nice couple of days together, just her and I having a joyous time. I don't travel often with people. I tend to do my own flex when I travel. And so it was good to have a travel buddy this time around. Now, Mary, I could swear you sent me a picture of us. Big shout out to Camana Airways. I had a little panicky moment because for a minute there, I thought luggage got left behind because one lady was like, oh, there's no luggage. And we were like, what? Like we only had 2 pieces. I'm like, pump the brakes. What's going on here? But thankfully she misspoke and more luggage was coming out of the carousel. So big shout out to Camana Airways. You guys do a phenomenal job every single day. I know a lot of times we only complain about you guys, but I'm going to tell you, they really do a phenomenal job. So there we are, taking a little bit of a break. That's some mall in Miami, some parking lot. And then look at this, coming back, loaded, honey chow. And we don't have as much stuff. I'm going to tell you, I came back with money in my hand, quite literally, because I didn't really do a lot of shopping. I just picked up a few things. And I had a bunch of items that I actually shipped by Camana Airways Cargo, and they had left ahead of me. So I know that some of those items arrived yesterday as well. So big shout out to Cargo as well. Camana Airways Cargo brings in a lot of items, and I'm waiting on some goods to come in there. But yes, honey chow, I got some good fans. I'm going to show you all a little video that's totally hilarious. The heat, we're going to talk about the heat here in a second. Listen, this heat is no joke. I am telling you guys, you have got to really, really be careful now because it's only May, but summer is here. We might as well call it summer. And we are experiencing some of the hottest temperatures ever on record. Listen, the ocean temperature, we posted this on our page the other day, the hottest that it's ever been. And I could feel like I would say about 3 weeks now, I could literally feel the difference in the air, the humidity, the temperature was just like, it's stifling, it's hot. Even when there's a breeze out there, I'm like burning up. Week before last, that was the weekend that we had our holiday. I went to, Gianna got invited to a little pool party. One of her friends had a pool party. And so we went to that, and it was outdoors, obviously, by the pool. And after like 2 hours of standing out in that sun, I was like, listen, I got to go. I think it's more like 3 hours, but I was like, I can't take the heat anymore. Like I literally felt like I was going to pass out and have a heat stroke. Now, you guys might not know this, but I have a heat sensitivity that has landed me in the hospital before. And so the doctor said that there's certain people who are like kind of allergic to the sun. And that's what I have. And he said, you need to be very, very careful. Make sure that you're properly hydrating yourself. Drink lots of water. And you guys know, let me just take a sip of water. I struggle all the time with drinking water. But I was that day at the pool, I was like, oh, another water. I must have went through like the little bottles, tons of those. By the way, they had some really good food. Shout out to the caterer, Mr. Roman. I'm going to talk about his food on a social media post. But have a look at this. Look at what we're looking at here, folks. 2024 Atlantic hurricane season is primed for storms with rapid intensification. Part of it is because we're having abnormally warm water temperatures as well. So 2.5 to 4.5 degrees Fahrenheit above historical averages. Now, that might not sound a lot to you. You're probably thinking, oh, what's the big deal? 2.5%, whatever. Listen to me, folks. This is a huge deal. And I think that we have some people who are going to be joining us from the Weather Service. What we know is the hurricane season basically begins on June the 1st. So we're still a couple days out. What is that? 4 days away. But this undoubtedly is going to be one to watch, right? So they're predicting higher, more storms than normal. Rapidly intensifying tropical storms and hurricanes are especially dangerous because essentially they give the public less time to prepare, and they can catch people off guard. So folks, we want to be very, very cognizant this storm season in particular. Start your preparations from now. There's zero reason for us to wait until a storm is named for you to start going out there and getting stuff done. Do yourselves a favor and prepare, start clearing out gutters. We just had the boat cleanup. Like I said, you don't have to wait on government to do everything for you. There are private organizations and entities where you can just call them up and say, hey, bring me the truck and get rid of all the debris around your house. Anything that is a flying object, you have to be very, very cognizant of. Some of you have coconut trees on your property, and the coconut trees are loaded, and that can be dangerous. So, de-coconut your trees. I don't know what the proper term is, but you guys know what I mean. Go ahead and shave off those trees as much as possible. Do you know how hot it actually is? Listen, in Mexico, there are these little monkeys. I'm going to put this post up because this is such a sad little story. This made my little heart go, aw, poor little things. But there are these little monkeys who are literally dropping dead because of the heat. Now that's crazy. And it demonstrates in a really staggering way how incredibly hot it is. Now, here's another, when it comes to the heat, here's another thing that you guys might not have seen. This is something that, you guys know I watch and read a lot. In the United States of America, they're talking about how hot it has gotten in classrooms. Now, listen to this bit of information, because again, so incredibly shocking. It's not just temperatures in the water. It's not hurricane potential. Your children are also going to have a very uncomfortable summer. So please prepare them for this. Here we go. Many American classrooms are becoming too hot for learning. Y'all deniers out there talking about, oh, there's no such thing as global warming. We don't care about the environment. Y'all need to wake up, because hotter schools are leading to learning loss. So your kids will be learning less. And trust me when I tell you, most of them can't afford to do that. Not during the summer, not during the school year. They need to learn as much as possible. But here we go. And I know them old people saying that, but back in my day, back in your day, first of all, you had breeze. I mean, honestly, you had breeze coming through the windows. You had structures that were designed for airflow from one window to the next. Let me tell y'all a little story. Gather around, kids. Gather around. Auntie has a story for you. Listen, so much has changed in the world. First of all, common sense has gone out the window. Architectural designs no longer make any sense. It's just crazy. Let me explain. So we have made some investments recently in property, and we noticed that there seems to be a struggle to get units to a certain temperature, right? So guests are like, oh my God, it's so hot. And here I am thinking, is it because they're not used to like the Caribbean heat? Because listen, the Caribbean heat is no joke. This is serious business. It is hot here, right? And I'm thinking, who comes to the Caribbean and drops the thermostat to 60 degrees? Nobody in their right mind. But then I began to realize that why they were dropping it to 60 degrees, because and listen, CUC told you guys, don't do this because it doesn't work. They erroneously thought that, oh, if I drop it to 60 degrees, it's going to cool faster. It doesn't actually cool faster at all. You need a certain amount of time for your temperature to go down per degree. And that doesn't change with these units, no matter how much you drop it. And in fact, what you end up doing is overworking your condenser unit, right? So I start looking at, well, what's going on here? Why is it not cooling? What can we do? So we have our really wonderful AC guy come out, do an assessment, the whole 9 yards. And guess what? Y'all need to be careful how you construct things and how you build things. Structurally, there's certain things that do not work well in the Caribbean. They look good. So y'all know these ultra modern homes are like, you go up this way because of course you have less land space. So economically, it makes sense to go up with these, multi-layered, then you've got a rooftop and you've got all this kind of stuff. You're thinking, oh, I've got all this amazing space. You may have amazing space, but what you're not going to have is a structure that makes sense for cooling, right? So when you get to the second level, there's no airflow, there's no ventilation. None of those windows really open up, right? That is a problem. That creates like stifling heat. And you can see post-design where it must have occurred to the original homeowner that, yeah, we got a heat problem. Like the concrete, you can feel the heat emanating out of the staircase on the upper floors. So you got heat coming in from the top, you got heat coming from the sides, like heat is everywhere. Now, I want to talk about this in relation to CUC because I know all of you are going to be this summer cussing CUC when really and truly, it doesn't have anything to do with CUC. It is going to be the summer that is going to do you in. All right. And I've got some recommendations on what you guys need to consider and what you need to do. If you are in the process of building a house, take my word for it. Speak to an expert, not just on what you think looks good or what you want to do to maximize your square footage, but talk about how efficient is this house going to be in terms of a heat conduit. Because some of you build structures that naturally draw heat to the structure, and there will be no way to mitigate that once the house is built. Do yourselves a favor. Talk to people. You might love a design, but that design might make 0 sense in the Caribbean. What do y'all think back in the day? Our forefathers built certain types of structures, the wraparound porch, windows that you could open a window here, and you had, airflow, circulation. These things are important. Now we're building homes with windows that never even get to be opened, right? We love concrete, and I get it from the perspective of, hurricane and a good solid house. Caymanians are all about concrete. We're like, forget the wood, forget everything else. So from that perspective, I understand it, but concrete is also a horrible conduit when it comes to heat, especially if you're not insulating it properly. I heard a story about a young lady who was having these uber high CUC bills, and she was complaining like, oh my God, I can't afford to pay the bill, yada, yada, yada. Okay. So she calls in CUC and says to them, they offer these audits, and they did them for several people. Okay, let's do an audit, right? They do an audit in her house, and they're like, your house is like a sweat box. What's going on here? Where is the insulation in your house, in your walls? You got this nice new concrete house. Where is the insulation in your walls? Hear how the story go now. Gather round, students. Hear what she said. Well, I think it might be one of these Frank Hall homes, but that's not the point. Because they gave her the option. They said, okay, you can get your house insulated, but that comes at an extra cost. Let me just pause the story for a second. Our planning department needs to put some minimum requirements in place because we live in the tropics. It's getting hotter every single year. We broke records last year. 2023 was the hottest summer on record. This year is not going to be any better. It's going to be worse if the predictions are correct, right? Why don't we get ahead of this? Well, we're not really ahead. Truth be known, we're actually behind, right? Why don't we try to put in place, anybody at planning paying attention? Any government official, y'all paying attention to anything? Why didn't you put some minimums in place when it comes to things like you have to have this much insulation in your walls if you're building a concrete house or whatever, and actually have planning inspectors? Now they're under scrutiny here in CMR because they be passing some stuff that don't make no sense and that should never get passed, but we're gonna come back to them. We're gonna circle back another day. But put these things in the building code. This should now be a requirement, because guess what? They gave this woman the option and she's like, well, I can't afford it. Let's say it was an extra $10,000. She says, no, I can't afford it. But I would rather take that money and spend it on a granite countertop instead. Because the granite countertop, in her mind, gives her greater resale value to be able to list on their amenities, oh, I have granite countertops. Ooh, honey child. Listen, the people will perish for being foolish. Okay? Now I understand countertops being an important selling point. You know what is even a better selling point? For you to be able to tell people, my place is so well insulated. If you purchase it, your CUC bill is going to be at a minimal. That would make so much more sense. And she didn't do that. So she has little to no insulation in her walls. She opted to do the granite countertop instead of the walls. I was like, what? We have got to educate our people. Part of it is education. Maybe she didn't recognize how much of a real difference that was going to make every single month that CUC bill comes. The biggest investment that any of us will make, without a doubt, is our homes, right? We have got to start asking architects, speaking to people who know, what is the best design, not just for the frivolous things, not just for the square footage, not just for the aesthetics of it, because yes, these buildings look good, but how well do they work? How well is it going to be, like with the heat? How, what sort of heat conduit are we talking about? Folks, if you don't get it right, it's the kind of thing that you can't correct after the fact. And unfortunately, you're going to pay for forever. There's only so many SEER units that you can buy. You can't go and re-insulate. It's just unbelievably crazy, right? These are things that if you do not know, design flaws in certain types of designs can really be critical to the enjoyment of your place, especially as we see temperatures increasing the way in which they have, right? The heat load of your building, the pressure in the building, all of these things really make a humongous difference. And it's not just in the ceiling. You need to think about the walls and stuff as well. How the house is designed. What side is it facing, right? Having it face like the sun for the bulk of the day is a problem. Keep your exterior trees for shade. Like leave those trees up when you go to build on your property. Do not just go and pull down the trees. There's so many different factors. I feel like, we need to make this a whole element of building construction here in the Cayman Islands. So what are we talking about when we talk about rapid intensification? Well, the experts say that basically this is strengthening of 30 knots, which is 36 miles per hour or more in 24 hours. And this is what they're going to say we can expect this year for sure. Low wind shear, very warm water, abundant, moisture, all contributing factors. So tropical storms intensifying, hurricanes becoming more dangerous, and we are, by all projections, really going to be in for it this year. So I want to encourage everyone, the sea surface temperature is rising. Please, folks, do your best to start your preparations from now. Let me share this little story with you guys of the little monkey, my little tweetums. I was so sad to see these poor monkeys. I mean, literally, they are dropping dead from heat stroke. So if you work out in the heat, I know we talked about this last year. I cannot stress this enough. Please, make sure you're properly hydrated. Construction workers, give people a break. Allow them to get out there earlier in the morning so that they're not out there in the heat of the, the bulk of the heat. When you listen, I see people running and stuff in midday heat, and I look at them thinking, what are they doing? Why are you out in this kind of heat? That's crazy, right? Absolutely crazy. Don't do it. You're asking for a heat stroke. So take your time, folks, with the heat. You've got to make better decisions in terms of that. I'm trying to find this story now about the poor little monkeys. Where did I put it? Oh my gosh, poor little things. They are literally dropping out of the trees and just dying. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on one second. Poor things. So this is happening in Mexico, of all places. Saying that the monkeys are dropping dead due to prolonged heat. Here we go. It's so hot in Mexico that howler monkeys are falling dead. I mean, you got to see the poor little babies. They're so cute. My goodness, I feel so bad for them. So, yes, apparently they're falling dead, just falling out the trees and dropping dead from the heat. So at least 138 of the mid-sized primates who are known for their roaring vocal calls, hence why they call them howling monkeys, were found dead in the Gulf state of Tabasco since May the 16th, according to the Biodiversity Conservation group there. Others have been rescued by residents, including 5 that were rushed to local veterinarian battling to save them. They were basically said that they were in critical condition with dehydration and fever. Their limbs were like rags, and basically they were having a heat stroke. So right now, Mexico is having a brutal heat wave that has been linked to the deaths of at least 26 people since March. Folks, summer hasn't even reached yet. Let me try to explain this to you. Summer na ya, and people already dropping dead of heat stroke. 26 people so far since March in Mexico. And veterinarians are saying that animals are also feeling the brunt of this. They said it's killed dozens and perhaps even hundreds of howler monkeys. Around a third of the country saw degrees as high as 45 degrees Celsius, which for me, I'm like, tell me the Fahrenheit, 113 degrees Fahrenheit on Tuesday. 113 degrees. And, unfortunately, the poor monkeys, they don't have air conditioning. Y'all be cussing CUC. At least you can turn on the AC if you feel like it. These poor little monkeys don't have nowhere to go. They don't have an air conditioner to go turn on. So, they've had local fire and rescue squads, trying to put up to 5 of the creatures in the bed of their truck at a time to just give them a little bit of opportunity to cool down their bodies. Says here that normally quite intimidating, howler monkeys are muscular and some can get as tall as 3 feet, with tails just as long, and some males weigh about 30 pounds and can live up to 20 years. They're equipped with big jaws and a fearsome set of teeth and fangs, but mostly they're known for their lion-like roars, which, belay their size. The volunteers ask for help. They ask if they can examine some of the animals that they had in their truck, because again, they were just basically dying. So they've been giving them ice chips. They've been putting ice on their limp little hands and feet. They've been hooking them up to an IV drip with electrolytes. And, some of the monkeys have appeared to be on the mend from these treatments. Once listless, and easily handled, they're now in cages in the offices there as they're recovering. So unfortunately, they're aggressive little suckers. So they start biting, and they said, well, that's a good sign that they're healthy and they're ready to get back out in the wild. But yes, unfortunately, 138 of the animals have died. They've been found on the ground, under trees, and the die-off actually started around May the 5th, and it hit its peak over the weekend. My God. One guy there, Mr. Pozo, said they were falling out of the trees like apples. They were in a state of severe dehydration and they died within a matter of minutes. Poor things. Oh my God. And I mean, you know, there's pictures of soldiers picking up their lifeless bodies and stuff and having to try to dispose of them. So very, very sad situation. Poor little monkeys. I feel sorry for them. There will be other creatures undoubtedly who will be impacted by this as well. So please, folks, some of you have dogs that you keep outside. You got to really think now what's that is going to mean for your pets as we reach these higher temperatures here in the Caribbean as well. Listen, it might be 85, but the feel like temperature the other day was over 100 degrees, right? Here, the howler monkeys, my goodness. So you've got pets. Know how to keep your pets properly hydrated and safe. Poor little Zeus, he's an indoor dog, okay? Even indoors, he feeling the heat. The other day, Gianna wanted to go out and play in the yard after school. That was fine. Of course, she's dragging poor Zeus outside. I could see that Zeus had enough. He was panting, and I said to her, listen, young lady, when you see a dog panting like that, dogs can't sweat. You know, we get hot, we can sweat, we can release some of the heat. And, you know, they don't have the opportunity to do that. So if you see him panting and he's sitting by the porch door, that means he wants to come in. Don't force him to stay outside. Let him come back inside. He can't regulate his temperatures like you do, right? So he's panting to try to release some of it. I had to take matters into my hand, let the poor dog back inside, get him some fresh water, give him some ice. You know, it's important to tell your children how they must treat and show them how to treat animals and stuff as well. Some of you have birds and other things. Please consider the well-being of your animals, cats, as the temperatures continue to increase. Now, I'm going to show you all a little video of Zeus because I was telling you about this little AC cooling issue. So one thing that you can do is try to utilize fans. You know, you can only buy so many Sears AC units into the thousands of dollars before you go broke. Use fans. A fan can help reduce the temperature, even with the AC on, by several additional degrees. So found some really souped up fans in Miami. I've never even paid attention to these fans before, but they're the little like pivot fans. They're not very big. They're like maybe this big, but honey child, when I was walking by the display unit and I felt that fan blowing and it was only a number 1 out of 3, I was like, ooh, that fan is working pretty good. So Marlon was testing it out on Zeus last night. Check out Zeus enjoying the breeze. Look at him. Oh yeah, he's like, oh, this feels so good. Look at how it's blowing Zeus away. He's like, oh yeah, I love it. And I'm gonna start rolling all over the place now. What settings that on? You're blowing the dog away. I know, I was like, you're blowing the dog away. What are you doing? Which one? 3? That's too much. Look, Zeus is like, yes, more. I'm really enjoying this. What made him like feel good? He was roly-polying, as we call it, all over the place. Yep, he's enjoying the good breeze, and he was like, well, if Zeus is enjoying it, let me get in on it too. Oh my goodness. So see the little fans? That's it. And boy, do they work well. Mm-hmm. So Zeus is like, I love this fan. So, as a matter of fact, calm down. So yes, what we've also done for Zeus's benefit, look, he went right in front of the fan. He's like, I love this. So what we've also done for his benefit is we have one of those little standing fans. So now during the day, we keep that on for him, just on one, if he's in his cage and we go out. So he has a little bit extra circulation, a little bit breeze. Think about your poor animals. So yes, learning is going to impact your students. So hotter schools lead to learning loss. And this is in the United States of America. They're saying that fixing the problem is going to take billions of dollars that many districts don't have. Across much of the northern U.S., where many schools are built without air conditioning, districts are now forced to confront the academic and health risk posed by poorly schooled poorly cooled schools. So, poor construction. But, some of these schools are built so long ago, they weren't thinking that, wow, they would ever see these types of temperatures. And now that they are, fixing the problem is actually going to require residents to pass multi-million-dollar school repair bonds, which can be hard to do. Climate change is arriving faster than most schools can actually adapt. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Sandy. How are you?
Not bad, my dear. How you doing?
I'm good. Did you bring any of these fans over here to sell to us?
I should have. Could have made a couple sales well.
I haven't been able to see because I'm driving, so I hope you can pin a comment somewhere with the
yes,
fan, because I'm all about cool breeze.
Mm-hmm.
When I just wanted to say, when I was teaching in Canada, in Ontario, the buildings in general are designed to keep in the heat, and we used to have to, the only part of the schools I taught at for the couple of years where the office was the only AC part, or the library.
Right.
So we'd have to rotate, taking turns bringing the kids in.
Mm-hmm.
Hence why school ends a little earlier in the year, so you're not in the classroom
Mm-hmm.
during this peak time. And then we'd have to do freebies outside and limit, because the kids can't even concentrate. It's impossible.
Yes.
To focus on task at hand when you can barely catch your breath. It's also very dangerous for people who are asthmatic, people who have allergies, as well. And I wonder if there's anything happening, any plans here for the schools here. Yes, the places are air conditioned, but that's not enough. It's because they're going to have outdoor play, outdoor recess, phys ed. They have to really reschedule things, and it's just really, really hot. I feel so sorry for people that are working outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how they're managing people in construction, people
Mm-hmm.
doing linesmen, light poles, and having to wear all that protective gear.
Yes.
At the same time. So, and then you mentioned the animals, the poor cows that are always out
Mm-hmm.
as well. We really cannot. It's hot enough in general, but right now, more has to be done. I hope that our agricultural department is out in force, as much force as they have with people, to remind people of this. I'm glad you mentioned about the dogs, and people need to remember to hydrate themselves.
Absolutely.
Pepsi is not going to cut it. So a sugar drink is not going to quench your thirst. It's going to make you thirstier.
Yeah, absolutely.
And please emphasize about the use of sunscreen. We don't have enough melanin in our skin. This is a different level of sun.
Mm-hmm.
We need to protect ourselves. Skin cancer is real, and we need to protect ourselves as best, and our children.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you have a great day.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you. 936-2626 phone lines are open. But these are things that we need to talk about and we need to be considering. And our school administrators, the departments of education, the ministry, they need to get ahead of all this stuff, because let's be very, very clear here. As it gets warmer and warmer, you can't be letting kids out in May or April to say, oh, they're going to have a longer summer break. The heat is going to extend. So what the temperatures that we used to see in July and August when kids are out, we're going to now start seeing in April and May and June. So what is it? Thankfully, we've always lived in the tropics, but as we continue to build these new fancy schools, we're about to build one in Cayman Brac right now for $50 million. How much thought has gone into the stifling heat? Not just throwing in expensive air conditioning units, but when they don't work, are we going to be able to open windows? Are we going to have any breeze? Do we need trees on these properties? All of these things are extremely important. Tinting of the windows. There are some mitigating things that you can do, folks, but it's really, really important. And also giving teachers the discretionary power to not have to do recess or what is it called? Your PE outside. Hello, the children can't take the heat. Okay. So you know, I think private schools are a bit more, you know, it's happened to my daughter, like during summer camp, the teacher said, listen, it was too hot out there today. So we just did playtime indoors in the air conditioning. You know, you've got to have the ability to be more flexible. With some of our schools already overcrowding, such as like John Gray, it's already maxed the capacity. If the kids can't go outside, is there sufficient room inside for all of them to stay in? I mean, I don't know. Leanna says, blessed good morning, Auntie. I strongly agree because I made a post about the heat and CUC do not care about us because the more you adjust your AC, the higher your bills. Well, that ain't got nothing to do with CUC caring about you. Your bill is based on usage, Leanna. So yes, the more you use, and this is where people need to recognize, the more you use, the higher your bill is going to be. It is a consumption bill. You understand? That's why you all need to really look at your bill when it comes and you're complaining about and you're cussing CUC about the amount. What I encourage you to do is go look at the usage. I have never seen, and one person said that they, you know, oh yeah, well, I can prove it. And come to find out it was something quirky with their bill where they had like a credit or something from the previous month. But I have never seen your bill usage go up and you expect to spend less money. The hotter it gets, your usage is going to go up because it's taken more adjustments to keep yourself cooler. And that's just I mean, listen, when I'm sitting here and I'm hot and bothered, right? And I'm thinking, oh my God, this 78 degrees doesn't feel like 78 anymore. I need it to go down to 75 or 74. That is more, you're using more. It's very simple on the one hand to understand. Good morning, caller.
Good morning.
Oh my gosh, Miss Brenda, you're back. We've missed hearing your voice.
I don't know if I believe that or not, but anyway, I just want to say,
welcome back. Lots of people have been asking about you.
Well, thank you for the welcome back. I wish I had gotten that from Camana Airways. That would have been a good start. But anyway, yes, I had my flight home was a flight from hell.
Oh my God. When did you come back? Was it this last week with all these delays and stuff like that?
I came home on Saturday.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Yeah.
Was it that chartered plane?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. But if it was chartered, they had it painted with Camana Airways logo. And
no. That's not the charter.
And it's nothing wrong with the plane, you know. It's nothing wrong with the plane.
Okay? Oh gosh.
Not a thing is wrong with the plane. And I want to say something this morning before I get to any of that. First of all, I want to thank you for checking on me. As one of my classmates, when she would check on me, she would say, doing a wellness check.
Yes. Yes.
So
well, you're sounding good. So
check.
Thank you so much.
And
yes.
And also I know you forwarded me a couple of messages from other people, and I want to say thank you to those people as well.
Absolutely.
And in case by chance there was really anyone else who missed me, I thank you also, because that's a rare thing for anyone to miss me. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you what, I don't know that I sent you all of them for sure, but I had people asking
back my messages. Send my messages to
I
me.
know, right? Yeah, sometimes I get so busy, like, oh man, I know that person asked Miss Brenda, who was that again? But no, people were asking, like, I haven't heard Miss Brenda's voice in a while. You have a very distinctive voice, so people.
So I'm told.
Yes, yeah. So people know it's you, although you don't normally identify yourself.
Although one of my sisters gets accused because I suppose I could say I agree that she and I sound alike, because a lot of times people will hear me and then they think it's her, and then they'll go see her. So, but I call places sometimes and people think it's her because they know her.
Okay.
And then they're calling me, and then I'll say no, and they'll say, "Oh, I'm so sorry, but you sound so much like this lady." And so I just say, "Oh, who's that lady?" You know.
Well, I guess I've never heard her, so I can't compare the two. But okay, that's interesting.
But you've heard her, probably not on the phone.
Not on the phone, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And people do sound a little bit different on the phone as well.
Yes, yes. So, but I just, yeah, like I said, I, just had one of those voyages, health-wise, that I had to deal with, and now I'm on the recovery road, which is going to be a while.
Yes.
And so thank you to all who was asking about me. And just so that you all know, I never hide my sicknesses, illnesses, mishaps, or whatever. I just don't talk about it anymore, because what I have learned over the years, no one wants to hear, no one wants to know. So keep it to yourself. And if by chance someone makes an inquiry or reaches out to you, you make sure to note their name, because that's a rarity. That is speaking from experience.
Yes.
So like I said, I thank you all.
Yes. Well, I can tell you a lot of people did reach out. Miss Darlene Manzanera says, welcome back. Miss Brenda Siobhan
just reading
says,
her
welcome back as well. Debbie says, welcome back, cuz. Good to hear your voice.
Oh, hello, cuz. Hello. I was talking about you yesterday, actually.
Yes. So good to see you. But so you're saying you weren't having such a good experience. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
On
Well,
the return
let me
flight.
just say, I'm not going to say too much, because obviously this is a matter that has to be dealt with the right way, because I've tried for years, and this is a situation that has gotten from bad to worse. And it comes down to one simple, well, the major thing is lack of training. And then I can add to that stupidity, incompetence, and outright what Eldon used to talk about, people making a spectacle of themselves, okay? Because I was always of this stupid or ignorant impression that the captain was in charge of the flight or the plane. So, yeah. Okay. So I'm also going to lay the blame at the captain's feet as well, because he didn't do his job either.
Oh my goodness. I think customer service needs to call you this morning. Somebody in management needs to call you.
No. They don't want to call me. You know why?
No way.
Oh, okay. Like I said, they wanted to hear from me. Everybody mishearing me. I'm going to keep listening, because I can hear plenty. I got plenty to say, because I got plenty to do. My life might not be important to anybody who managed to get a job with Camana Airways, but I can tell you what, it's very important to me. And there's no price tag hanging on me, which means I'm priceless. I protect myself. I take care of myself. I do what I'm supposed to do. And I didn't survive all of the things I have survived to end up dying on board Camana Airways.
Oh my gosh. It sounds very serious.
And on that note, the real reason I called you, Sandra, I know that you do this Medical Tuesday thing. And I'd asked you this a couple of times before. And now I am asking you, and if anyone at Shadow Hospital, since they're the ones who come on, but it's an invitation to any medical person who might be listening, if they would come on your show or go on any of the talk shows for that matter. And please, just give people a basic understanding of what allergies are and what they can do to the human body. And I hope that I'm going to say something, and I really hope that no one takes this as disrespect, but I believe that everybody will remember this. And to his family, if you're hearing me, please, this is not disrespect, because to be honest, every time I think of it, it really disheartens me. But I do remember the incident with Mr. Hurley Merrin, and when he had an exposure to something he was allergic to, and what happened to that man. So that's the seriousness of an allergy.
Right. Was that on a plane, or that was just in general?
No, he wasn't on the plane as far as I know.
Okay.
But it can happen anywhere. And then there was another incident with a tourist out on the West Bay Road, where they just walked past him with a lobster, and the man fell out the chair. He was dead.
Oh my God.
So the point I'm trying to make here, you and I both could be allergic to peanuts.
Yes.
But we react differently.
Yes, absolutely.
And allergies don't just mean it's going to make me sneeze. Please, to Camana Airways staff, I beg you all. I know you're not being trained. That is very clear. when you say to them it is a foreign language, and then they want to fight you down to tell you what they can do and what they can't do, what they can't tell other passengers to do. And I refuse to deal with this situation anymore. I'm going to do what I have to do and what I should have done a long time ago. It is so funny. Every other airline that I have flown on, say to them, and automatically they know what it means, and they do what they need to do. And they don't know me. They don't know me. This is my airline. And you know what is so hurtful about this? I had to have an escort fly home with me. And there I am bragging about my Camana Airways. You wait till you get on Camana Airways. You know, this is the best airline in the world, blah, 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 blah. And what an experience. Eh? What a first impression.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
So,
well, I know that after this, somebody from Camana Airways will be reaching out to you because
believe me, this is not the first time.
Yeah, I know this is very serious. Yes.
And right now I know somebody from Camana Airways is listening to your show.
Yes, yes.
I'm not going to name that person or anything.
Yeah. More than one listening, you can rest assured.
Once upon a time, that person was on a flight and witnessed what happened to me only because the senior flight attendant didn't do her job.
Oh my gosh.
They're stupid. But they're not gonna be stupid with my life. Okay?
Wow.
And then to add insult to injury, you're going to lie on me, and then you're going to delay the flight because of a nonsensical issue that you have, because I don't have the problem. They have it. I've been educated about this. I'm equipped to help myself. But how am I going to do that in the air? Can I put on an indicator and say, turn here, we need to go to the hospital? No. But you know what can happen one of these days? When we're airborne, and it happens, and they go make an emergency landing. And then it inconveniences all the passengers. I want to hear, for those who grumble about it, I want to hear how they gonna feel then, when they got sit down indefinitely on somebody's tarmac. Because it mightn't be the one they intended to go to. I'm sick and tired of it, and I have actually become very fearful of boarding Camana Airways. Now that's where it has reached with me.
Wow.
Unfortunately, that's who my insurance got contract with.
Oh my God.
So I don't have a choice.
All right, Miss Brenda. Well, we're glad that you're back home and that you're safe, but I mean, definitely this is an issue that needs to be addressed.
And I'm sorry, this is my greeting to everyone who may have missed me. But I am upset, and I've been holding this in for a long time. And believe me, I haven't said anything yet. Okay?
Yeah. All right, we're gonna definitely. I can tell you, management is on this, and somebody's gonna be calling you here shortly. But we appreciate.
Management should have been on this a long time ago.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you know what they kept doing? Kicking the can down the road. They have not even had the professionalism, the courtesy, or the humanity to reach out to me to say, could you explain this to us a little bit more? We understand you have this issue, but we don't know. Help educate us. And that's not my job. You hire these flight attendants, make them do the medical training. They used to do it once upon a time. I know when my brother trained them, they were well trained. But those people are gone. They're all gone. And now you have these people who don't, some of them don't even speak English. Okay? Some of them are there to get the free flights and to jump up in business class. So when they don't know, because they're not being trained, or even if they've heard about an allergy, they're too stupid to make their brain, well, I guess common sense is not so common. And if you don't have a brain, then there's nothing there to use. But even to allow them to say, okay, I've heard about this. Let me just read up on this or Google this so that at least I have this little bit of knowledge. No. Who you think you're impressing? But you know what they should have done with him? From the time he jumped up, taking off his mask to go and take picture with celebrity up on the plane. They should have fired him from then, because that should have told them from then what kind of professionalism that he had and how serious he took his job when we were in the throes of a pandemic. And as the senior flight attendant, that's what he did. I can name him and I can see him, but none of you can't do me anything. And like I said, everybody can hear from me because I'm tired of it. Tired of it.
My goodness.
Going to
We have a
our-
listener.
our-
We have a listener to the
our-
Miss Brenda. We have a listener to the program who said, "Could you give us any more details on exactly what happened?"
Who is the listener? I mean, sorry, is this from Camana Airways or just a general?
No,
listener?
just the general public curious about what happened.
Okay, but to that listener, as I said, keep listening.
Okay.
Because you can hear a lot more from me.
Oh, okay.
But I have work to do first. And once I have completed that, you all can hear a lot more from me.
Okay.
And this is not the first time. I actually called the show before and I just made a small reference to it. And I'm told everybody that came on Airways was up in arms about it because they didn't think I should have called your show to say anything about it. Okay? Then I got an email telling me, asking questions, and that someone from management would be contacting me to deal with this matter because it had been brought to. The call hasn't come yet.
It coming today, Miss Brenda. As soon as you hang up this phone, I bet you're gonna get the call.
Can got kicked down the road.
Yes.
I guess it's rusted now. And while I'm saying this, because I'm not always negative, I just want to do a big shout out to Marilyn Phillips at Camana Airways in Miami. And let me tell Camana Airways something.
Yes.
They better hope that she lives forever and that she don't retire. Because God help us when she's not there anymore. And there's another lady there named Bev. I don't remember her last name.
Yeah, Miss
She's
Bev. Yes.
also another gem that we got there at that counter. So apart from that, God have mercy on us. And I am going to say this because I have no fear of speaking the truth because nobody can do me anything. And I don't lie on anyone. Camana Airways has gone down, poorer in every area. Not speaking about the reservation staff when I call them and stuff because I don't know them, but they greet me friendly, they do their job. And if they don't know, they say, I'll speak with my supervisor. So I thank them for that also. And they have a good understanding of my problem. It's noted on my reservation every time. Okay? I'm sure you all have gone into the airport and you've heard announcements from the other airlines saying, we have a passenger. This is, I just gonna say American Airlines. We have a passenger on this flight who has a severe allergy to peanuts. Please do not bring any peanuts on board. If you have them in your possession, do not open them. If you have eaten them, please wash your hands before you board the flight. So to Camana Airways, I want to tell them that since no one seems to grasp this, you know why American Airlines has done that? Because that's their job. They're protecting themselves. So now if something happens, nobody cannot say that American didn't do their job. So when Camana Airways refused to announce it, refused to acknowledge it, and refused to do what needs to be done, I say no more. Yeah?
All right, my dear. Wow. Thank you so much.
But anyway, I'm not done with you.
Oh,
I wanted to hear from me.
okay.
Now you can hear from me. I hear you talking about heat and
yes.
CUC.
Oh my gosh.
And, well, you know, you have to understand. Not everybody's a billionaire like you know. So you know,
I wish.
some of us.
Tell me where to find the money.
Some of us do have to count our coins. Okay.
Oh yeah. Well, I listen. Count them every day.
Well, I believe it or not, that is what I've been labeled as and accused of being.
What is that? A coin counter?
A millionaire.
Oh, a millionaire. Oh, okay.
Okay. No, I'm being
well, you'll have to tell them like what my Aunt Lottie used to say, a millionaire in my heart.
Well, you know
Rich
what
in my
I
heart.
say? No, you know what I love to say? But let me just finish that. And I'm serious when I say this. So many people have stopped speaking to me because in their mind, I am mean because I have all of these millions and I don't share them.
Oh my gosh. So, imagine.
I want to quote my favorite man. When he was asked, so do you have a lot of money? Do you have a lot of riches? No, sorry. Are you rich? He said, what do you mean rich? Also, do you have a lot of money? And he said, so money make you rich? My favorite man, Bob Marley. And yes, money make you rich? He said, no, he said, I don't have a lot of money. and money don't make me rich. He said, you know what, make me rich when I can improve the life of at least one other person.
Absolutely.
And the man is dead and he's gone. And he's still improving the lives of those who got a common sense to understand what his message is. I'm going to say are, because they're still going on. And I'm sure my little friend Alejandro would love to hear me now bigging up Bob Marley. Alejandro, love him to death. I wish I could have wrapped my hands up in his dreadlocks.
Oh my goodness.
love him, still love him.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Miss Brenda. Welcome back.
Yes, and to your listeners, thanks for bearing with me this morning, but I just had to vent. Okay?
Yes, yeah. No, I know.
I've been locked down for a long time.
Oh gosh. she's back with it. She's back with a boom. Somebody said, please give Miss Brenda kaboom this morning. Kaboom! There we go. Thank you, Miss Brenda.
Okay, have a good day.
All right, my dear. Yes, well, obviously Miss Brenda has allergies. She didn't go into too many details about exactly what happened, but I think she can rest assured that the right persons will be calling her this morning to sort out exactly what this is, and no doubt issue a proper apology. Listen, we're all subject to, I was saying this actually funny enough to someone last night in the Miami airport. We were talking about the show that we had on Thursday with this guy, Philip Hides. And they're like, boy, they're in the construction business. And they said, Sandy, thank you so much for this show. It's unfortunate because we're all human beings and we're all subject to making mistakes, making poor decisions, just getting things wrong. And then there are people who can never admit that they're wrong. I always say, just fall on your sword. People can understand. Listen, I messed up. I misspoke. I got it wrong, whatever. Fall on your sword, apologize, and then most importantly, get it right and don't keep doing the same thing over and over again. Because when you keep doing the same thing over and over again, that's when people go, I'm not so sure that I'm going to believe you when you say that you are sorry or that, you're going to make some meaningful change. So I think that that's where, that's where it matters. And to Ms. Brenda's point about allergies, thankfully, I am not a person who suffers from any allergies, but what I can tell you is I have actually been in a situation where someone thought that their life was at risk. And I'm going to tell you all this story because it goes to show you that, again, if you don't know how deadly an allergic reaction can be, don't even speak on it. I've never had allergies, seasonal allergies, dust allergies. That's not going to kill me. There are a lot of allergies that are very, very dangerous, and it's a matter of life and death. And I'll never forget, many, many years ago, I was actually attending a chamber luncheon, and this was so funny because this would have been around 2009, maybe 2010, because at the time I had the other talk show on 104, Straight Talk. And so I was there with this young lady who has severe life-threatening allergies. And I remember we were at a chamber luncheon. We were at the Ritz, chamber luncheon, like, hey, the Ritz. And she said to them, I have allergies, and spoke to them specifically about what to bring her. She walks around with her allergy bracelet and whatever. So they prepped her meal. Got to be very careful when you're prepping meals with people with certain food allergies and so forth. And so they started bringing out, they separated her stuff, brought hers out, and she started to eat her lunch. Poor Nicole, another waiter came out and said, stop, miss, stop, don't eat it. I was like, what the, say what? And she looked at me and she took out her EpiPen. She said, Sandy, if I start to go into anaphylactic shock, you need to take this and just jug it in my thigh to save my life. And you know me, honey child, I'm pretending to be a doctor all the time. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do it. She's like, this is going to mean life or death for me. Now, the funny thing is, then they rushed back out. They said, okay, you're okay. She's like, what the hell? So they thought they had made a mistake with her food, and then they realized they hadn't. But the moment of panic, the 45 seconds following that, oh, miss, stop eating, was not good. And she showed me the EpiPen, She's like, have you used the EpiPen before? And I was like, no. All you do, take this off and just jab it in my. I was like, Lord Jesus, I'm not ready. But if I had to have done it, I'm sure I could have done it. But I was so scared to death because I was like, I don't want this woman dying next to me or me, her life depending on me knowing how to use an EpiPen. What if I get it wrong? What if it doesn't go all the way in? Listen, panic. But you have to, I agree with Miss Brenda, when you work in certain situations, you have to understand the seriousness of allergies. It's not something where they can break out with a little rash. For some people, it can literally be life or death. Like they're, you know, listen, there was a celebrity who died the other day. Remember, did y'all see this? She ate a cookie. And she, you know, unfortunately, there was something in the cookie. I can't remember if it was a nut allergy or whatever. But this was just, oh God, when was this? This was like last month or something, right? She died. Was this the cookie? Was this January? Oh yeah, New York City dancer. She died after eating a mislabeled cookie. And again, she had a severe peanut allergy. Only 25 years old. So now, you know, Connecticut health officials are warning people about these cookies in the tri-state area, to say that although they claim, or they're not labeled saying that they may contain peanuts, that they had to be recalled after this woman died on January the 11th. So this is very, very serious, folks. If someone tells you that they have an allergy, you know, you have to take the matter seriously. So we're hoping that Ms. Brenda can get it sorted out. I think after today, Kim and Airways will undoubtedly reach out to her with a view to correcting whatever the situation is. Oh, yeah. What a mess. So welcome back to Miss Brenda. Miss Sue says, me too. I love me some Bob Marley. Jose said, kaboom. We have a listener to the program who said, Miss Sandy, don't go soft and let on that fool Alejandro. I don't care what Miss Brenda says. Lord have mercy. Oh my gosh. Another person said there's always three sides to the story. Passengers in the flight complained about the way that she was behaving. Oh my goodness. This person said, if Miss Brenda says that the airline should make an announcement and tell people they can't have nuts on a plane, that they're not sure that that can actually be done. So I don't know the details exactly. This person says, I'm allergic to aspirin. If I take it, it's a few minutes before my eyes and throat swell shut. EpiPen saves lives. And it's also the sort of thing that you should probably know how to use. So, you know, again, in the moment, I didn't know anything about an EpiPen, but Nicole was like, you're going to have to use it here if these people actually got this completely wrong. What a hot mess, y'all. Good morning, everybody. So listen, let's talk a little bit about some other matters here. So on Thursday, the verdict came down on the, what's this case called? The RBC robbery. And unfortunately for them, all parties were found guilty. And so I want to talk a little bit about why they were actually found guilty. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Sandra. It's me again.
Hi, Miss Brenda.
I just heard a comment that you made there about somebody said that it was the way I was behaving on the plane. I don't know if that person was on the flight or not, but let me just say to whomever that is, unless you were on that plane and you know the entire details of everything that was done and said, stay out of things that don't concern you, because it's people like you that make matters worse than they need to be. This is part of the problem. Everybody has an opinion with the lack of the appropriate knowledge. So unless you know every detail, including my medical details, stay out of things that don't concern you. And anybody has the right to be upset when their life is being treated as if it has no value. And let me just add to that, because I left this out in the beginning. Nobody, despite looking at me, seeing my physical condition, boarding the flight with a walker, no one came and said include the captain,
Mm-hmm.
or send the senior to inquire what's going on. You know, what do we need to know here? Blah, blah. No, that wasn't done. Or to even check on my comfort level at any time. That wasn't done. And no one is going to tell me, to the other person who say, you don't know if it can be done, then you fall into the same category of those who lack the knowledge. Go and educate yourself. And until you do that, you don't have any part in this conversation. Okay? So I am going to say this, and I don't know if he's listening either, because I believe in giving people their props. 23 years ago, when I did my first back surgery, I came home in July. I remember that. It was hot. And I remember at the time the flights were very, very delayed, you know. Anyway, it didn't really matter to me because I was so anxious to come home. So I was at the airport, of course, with a travel escort. And the woman at the counter at Camana Airways, she kept coming to check on my condition. This is while we're still in the airport. But she wasn't speaking to me directly. She was speaking to my escort. And like I said, you know, I was just so anxious to come home. I mean, unless I had actually passed out. I wasn't leaving the airport. Now I was too close to home. Anyway, so after a couple of checks, I said, well, what's going on? They said, no, she's just checking on you because, you know, obviously it's a long wait, it's a long sit down, blah, blah, blah. So if you can't deal with it, they're going to send you back to the hospital. And because, you know, they have to do what is right. Anyway, so when we finally boarded the plane, and I used to see this man all the time, I had no idea who this man was. And I mean, you know, a pilot on Camana Airways. And he then came to my escort, spoke with my escort. I couldn't really hear what was being said. And so then he went in the cockpit. And then I said, who's that pilot? That's Captain Gary Hides. I said, oh, that's Gary Hides, because, you know, I'd heard the name. And I said, and, you know, he did say hello to me and stuff. And I said, oh, okay. And I said, well, what was he asking you? No, he was just asking about your condition. Is it anything that they need to know? And so and so. And because I did hear when the response was, it's a serious back condition. Okay. And I had just gone through 9+ hours of back surgery. Anyway, and when we landed, that was one of the smoothest landings I've ever had. And from that day until this day, you know what I call him? Captain, my captain. And I love to fly with him, and I tell him that. And I always remember that. And then he came to check on me to make sure that I was okay. This is after we landed. That's what a captain does. He's in command of that ship. Okay? So he checks on everybody, regardless of what it is, to make sure they're okay. And in case Camana Airways don't understand this, from the time they sell me a ticket, and I noticed by law, I have advised them of what the situation is, then they are responsible for me. And it's not that they can't do it. It's not that, as the other person said, I don't know if they can do it. But let me tell you, they are duty bound to do it. That would be like putting someone by the emergency exit, and then you say to them, do not open that door, otherwise everyone here is going to be sucked out. You're responsible to make sure it don't happen. It's the same thing. You gotta do your job if you know your job. And if you really wanted to excel at your job, you don't have to wait for people to tell you things. You can also teach yourself things. That's how some people become much more successful at what they do than others. They just don't stay stuck in the mud waiting for somebody to throw water on them. They can climb out of it and go and fetch the water too. Anyway.
All right, my dear. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes. This is good for me. All right.
All right. Yes, please don't do that. Thank you so much. Yes. Listen, Miss Brenda is just coming back from her extended medical stay, so we don't want her getting upset. So what I would say is, like I told them people last week, sometimes you have to just turn off the radio and not listen, or turn off the live stream and not listen, because we don't want her to do anything that's going to be detrimental to her health. So let's give a couple court updates now in the program. Like I said, I know we missed a couple days of a show. So first of all, the RBC robbery, all individuals in that case were found guilty. It was a very, very interesting case, without a doubt. It was a very long case. In fact, it was so long that the judge did something that I have never personally seen before. I guess they can do it, obviously, because he did it. But he has excused all the jurors who served, all 12 of them, who served from jury duty for the next 4 years. So they never have to do jury duty again. If they're called, if they wish to do it, they can, or they can say, nope, I've got this exemption from Judge Chappelle where I never have to do jury duty again for 4 years, not again, but for 4 years. So they get an exemption for 4 years because it was a lot. They came back, I think, a couple of times with questions, some points of clarification. So guilty of burglary, let me make sure I get the correct term here. David Samuel Bodden, Staten Omar Clark, Elton David Webster, and their female companion, Eliza Webster, who's married to the Elton David Webster, was found guilty of 1 count of possession of criminal property in relation to just over $4,000, which was seized from her at the airport a month after the burglary. So these individuals, this happened almost 8 years ago. They're accused of stealing more than $500,000 from the Royal Bank of Georgetown, Royal Bank of Canada, sorry, located in Georgetown. So what I would say is this, folks. There's a saying that we have, time longer than rope. And sometimes you feel like you've gotten away with something. Let me just say that you haven't. It's coming. It's just a question of when and how. A very, very lengthy trial lasted more than 2 months, presided over by Justice Roger Chappelle. The jury deliberated for several days. They took pretty long, actually. And then they came back with a unanimous verdict. I know at one point the verdict wasn't unanimous. There's like one person, I think, who was kind of like a bit of a holdout. And eventually they'd asked the judge if they could return a majority verdict, which you can do, by the way. And the judge says, yes, that's possible, but I want you guys to give yourself more time. And they went back again, and they finally came back with a unanimous verdict. So he said the woman started crying right away, the Eliza Webster. She started crying right away in the where do they sit? In their little booth. I forget what it's properly called. But anyway, she started crying right away. And the judge said, if she needs to go outside and excuse herself, she can. They are all in bail. So, they're free to still roam around and do whatever. But he made it very, very clear, especially for the 3 men, that they are looking at a substantial sentence. He said it. Although you're in bail, don't confuse that with thinking in the dock. Thank you. Don't confuse that with thinking that you can just be getting a slap on the wrist. You are looking at a substantial prison sentence, custodial sentence. In other words, they're going to jail for a very long time. Really, really sad situation here. Unbelievable. Just unbelievable. So, the prosecution put on their case. Nothing is perfect. There were questions. The defense tried to poke holes in the case. It was considered a cold case, and the jury heard that the case had been stalled before a cold case review pulled all of the evidence and clues together, and the charges were finally laid. So the prosecution's case is basically that Bodden, David Samuel Bodden. Let me see. I think I have a picture of him. Hold on one second here. That he was kind of the ringleader of this. He was the inside man, rather, I should say. Very, very unfortunate situation for him. At the end of the day, these are Caymanians, and now they have managed to ruin their own lives. So we have pictures of everyone, I think, except the woman. Anybody got a picture of Eliza? Do let me know. I'm just saying. They'll be trying to erase their social media presence, but I know y'all got pictures, honey chill. David's such a handsome little fella. Too bad he's going to be in jail. So sad. So let me show y'all David. I'm sure everybody knows David. Let me see here, David. Okay. All right. So David was easy to find. He's quite popular. So this is David here. There he is. Yep. So he worked at Royal Bank, and there are certain movements that he made that were very, very questionable. They were basically able to track him with his swipe card. So he worked at the bank, and he was referred to as the inside man, and he's really the one who made the burglary possible. The Crown said that he enabled Clark and Webster to get into the banking hall by propping the door open and telling them which teller drawers had the cash. He also said to have deactivated some of the bank's security systems. According to the Crown's case, the men all knew each other and were all linked by phone records. On the evening of the burglary, Clark had driven the getaway car, an SUV that belonged to a friend of his, which police had tracked through CCTV footage. Attorneys argued that there was no real evidence against their clients, and the Crown had built its case on suspicions rather than evidence. They argue that there's no forensic evidence, no CCTV from the bank, no evidence of which notes were stolen on that night, and no certainty whether or not the car that the police believe were involved actually was. And then they questioned whether the police had successfully tracked the getaway vehicle, as they were using headlight patterns rather than number plates. In the end, however, the Crown, the prosecution successfully argued that the incriminating circumstantial evidence was not just compelling, but overwhelming. And the explanations given by each of the defendants were, when presented with evidence, made no sense. So they took the stand, and I think, sometimes what you do, folks, is you tell your clients, do not take the stand. I'm just saying, not always a good idea. In this case, they took the stand to their detriment. I can tell you, it had an impact because their stories just didn't make any sense. Like, one was trying to explain some situation about a girlfriend, which they've never been able to identify who the girlfriend is. But he claimed that, he was out with this girlfriend and he gave her a name. No, never able to track her down. But he then said something about, he was kind of like hanging out with her and doing something at dinner because he didn't want to end up on Mall Road. It was like, okay, I mean, they all had a good laugh in that moment, but if your explanation doesn't make any sense, yeah, people are going to wonder. I mean, they actually went to the girlfriend of one of them shortly after, and they were able to recover a burner SIM card, because what he basically did is he used her SIM card to make the phone calls to the other dudes, thinking they wouldn't be able to trace it back, and then told her, get rid of your SIM card. So when the police went to her, she's like, yeah, well, this is what happened. He used my phone to call somebody and then told me to get rid of my SIM card. Now, listen, if you ain't doing nothing untowards, it's highly unusual that your boyfriend is going to be telling you to get, caller, you got to make sure you turn down your radio and stuff in the background. It's really a bit unusual that your boyfriend or girlfriend is going to be telling you to try to swipe a phone or delete your SIM card or throw away the SIM card and these sorts of things, right? So Clark and his co-defendants charged with taking $465,000 CI and another $126,000 US. So they have also reported that a former police officer was also arrested in connection with this crime, but was never charged based on recommendations from the director of the public prosecution. Watch this space. Caller?
Good afternoon. Good morning, Miss Sandy. How are you?
Morning, dear. How are you?
Yeah. I I just want to say that you heard Miss Brenda voice. If Camana had just 4 more like her, Camana been good in condition. That's a real Camana. Telling you how it is. What happened? We don't have any more Camanans like her anymore. It's just a few of us that is left. And that is what happened in Camanans. We have turned and became feathers that other people just ride and walk over us. I feel it from Miss Brenda, and I know where she's coming from, and I know her background. And that is what I admire of the real Camanans. That is one. That is one. God bless you, Miss Brenda. And take care of yourself.
Yes.
Health, yeah. Bob Marley, when they asked him about the money, yeah, he said, money don't make you rich. What make you rich is your health. Once you got health, you can achieve anything. Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank
Colin.
you, and welcome back.
Thank you, my dear.
For your show.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Yes. Very, very good. Okay. 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 All right. Let me just see here now. So yes, going back to this case. So, I mean, listen, the movements of these individuals were such that, you know, there were things that lacked a full explanation. So, for example, when you have people spending a whole lot of money, when right before that they were not able to pay rent, they couldn't pay their bills, like they were struggling to pay CUC and whatever, then all of a sudden you could go buy a car cash. You can pay for your annual insurance cash and all these other things. Yeah, that causes eyebrows to be raised. Where do you all of a sudden get money from? And you know, one of the interesting things about the wife, I mean, obviously her excuse was, even if my husband did it, I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know that this was proceeds of criminal property. So how can I be guilty of possession of criminal property? You know, she was feigning ignorance. But listen to me. I always have an issue with spouses who do this, because it makes you question, what kind of spouse do you have? I mean, people have all sorts of different relationships, I suppose. And so, you know, maybe, but when you go from your spouse being broke and you're struggling to pay the bills to all of a sudden he's flossing and can do all this stuff and giving you all this cash and all this money, so you need to ask some questions. And if you do not ask questions of your spouse, you're not too bright. Okay. Yeah, I thought about this. You know, I don't sit down and tell my husband, oh, give me your paycheck. Let me, you know, make sure that every dollar is accounted for. But if my husband all of a sudden started spending exorbitantly, like, you know, I would be like, well, where are you getting money from? What's going on here? You know, the funny thing is, when you're in a relationship, not sometimes not even spouses, but you're in a relationship, you live together, you know when things are tight. You know when, oh man, you know, honey, can I borrow a little $25? I'm short on lunch this week. Or can you help me pay this? Like normally I pay the bills. Can you help me pay the CUC bill? You know, you talk about when things are tight. And I suppose you probably talk about when things are going well. You know, maybe you got a new, you know, you're a construction worker and you got a new contract or whatever. And you're like, okay, I'm going to be making a little bit more money. Can we start saving some money? Can we get caught up in bills? I mean, do you people not discuss finances with each other as couples? I'm a bit confused. So let me ask you a question. If your husband or wife comes in now and gives you a ton of money, are you not going to be asking them where this money came from, especially if they're giving you cash? It's not deposited in the bank. It's moving in a certain way. Cash transactions are different. Are you not going to ask, where did the money come from? Or do you guys operate blindly? I'm quite curious to know how you guys work in your relationships. Do you operate blindly where your husband can walk in with a bag of $1 million and you ain't asking no questions? You're going to be like, oops, money grab, shopping spree, but I don't want to know. Okay. So despite the investigation having gone cold, some 8 years, almost 8 years after the fact, they have stuck by their position that the burglary was an inside job. It was the term used, simple opportunistic crime, but a carefully executed, sophisticated burglary that required inside knowledge and was meticulously planned and executed, says the prosecution. The court heard that a long-serving member of the bank's management team arrived to open the bank in the morning of the burglary and knew immediately that something was wrong. The interior banking hall's door was propped open, and 4 of the 6 cash dispensing units from the area were on the floor, empty, but there was no sign of forced entry. The first clue in the case as to who may have been involved came some 3 weeks after the burglary. Eliza Webster, who was traveling with her husband, Elton, was stopped at the Owen Roberts International Airport carrying about $8,000 in cash, half of it in sequestered new notes. In other words, numerically numbered. These notes were later traced back to the stolen cash. Here's the thing, right? There's this theory, and another lawyer said to me, well, it's possible for you to get sequestered numbered notes. I'm like, girl, you know what the chances of that would be? Dispensing it to the tellers, dispensing it to the customers. You actually think that you're going to get all the same brand new notes, $8,000, all in the exact same order? Honey, Chad, that is almost an impossibility. That's just crazy to think that that could happen. But that was part of their defense. Like, yeah, this was just a coincidence that we got brand new notes also. Listen, if my husband rolled up and gave me 25 grand, 30 grand in cash, you think I could be walking through any airport with $8,000? Let me tell y'all something. When I go through Miami International Airport, they all, how much cash do you have on me? I said, maybe $100. That's emergency funds. I do not walk with cash. And Camana, this is not no cash and carry business. This is debit card. And if I know I'm going to spend money, I put money in the account for that moment. I don't even keep, just now, funny enough, the people in Miami says, oh, we need to go ahead and charge your thing. Can we charge it? I said, nope, I don't put any money in that account because I use that card all the time. So to protect myself, I transfer when I need it. Tell me how much you need to charge this morning, my mailbox people, and I'll transfer the money over. Other than that, you ain't going to be charging nothing on my card. Okay? Yeah. So you walking through an airport, on Roberts International Airport, with $8 grand in cash, all sequentially numbered, brand new notes. Okay, honey, chill. If you don't say so. Anywho, then they had telephone records that they said they linked Elton Webster with Bodden, who was still working at the bank, and he in turn was linked to Clark. So they weren't on a 3-way call necessarily, but they were like, this one called this one and this one called this one kind of thing. And Clark was linked to a red SUV that the police was said that they believe was used as the getaway vehicle. Prosecution said that over the course of the investigation, investigators worked tirelessly to try to connect the dots using CCTV footage, telephone records, Bodden's internal fob records. That's what ended up screwing him. And the findings of cash tracing experts and other documentation to create a strong inference that the 3 men were responsible for the burglary and that the woman had handled the stolen cash. His key fob, honey child, was showing him doing things like going in areas and stuff that although he had access to, the question was, why would you be going in that area? What were you doing there? And one of the eyewitnesses even said that, they saw him making certain movements that day that just defied logic, didn't make any sense. They were like, why is he going in that area? And you know how somebody's just like walking up and down, but they're not actually doing work? So they saw him doing a lot of moving from different areas, but there was really no work being done. So that raised, unfortunately for him, a lot of red flags on what was really going on. All right. So they say that on the night of June the 22nd, 2016, when the burglary took place, Bodden was the last person to leave the bank, and he was in communication during that time with Clark and Webster. His fob record also showed that he was in the banking hall where the cash was taken from after banking hours, which was against company rules. And again, he couldn't really provide a viable explanation for why he would have been there. The prosecution said that he played a critical role and was the inside man who had left the doors in the banking hall open for the others and supplied the necessary security codes. Police later discovered a voice note from Clark's phone shortly after the burglary in which he spoke about the problem of running around town with a lot of cash in him. Clark, who worked as an elevator engineer, was seen at the bank during doing maintenance work, the day before the break-in, even though it was not on his work log, and he had not been sent there by his boss to do any work at the RBC property. That's the building at the time. His phone records also show that he was in communication with the owner of a car that the police traced on CCTV footage as the likely getaway vehicle. So the prosecution built their case, and they say that, I've got something in my eye. My apologies. Sorry. And they said that they built a case that was incontrovertible. Or should that be incontroversial? I guess incontrovertible, and cannot be shaken over the past 8 years. So the memories of witnesses had faded, but the facts remain that the forensic evidence was not eroded by time. She urged the jury to keep their eye on the forensic evidence and to return a guilty verdict, which ultimately they did. Very long case. I'm just trying to see what other details I can give you all. What a hot mess. Really, really sad situation, to be honest. I mean, now multiple lives have been ruined. Hopefully RBC has improved certain security functions and stuff as well. Like, I don't know how internal doors, this goes to show you sometimes with these banks, but I don't know how internal doors can be left open and like alarms don't go off and stuff like that, Yeah. If he's not supposed to be in that area, his key fob should never give him access to certain areas and stuff as well. So I don't know, honey chill. Of course, their defense claimed that, the suspicion simply wasn't enough. Let me give you some more details, what the defense had to say. So the attorneys said that the prosecutors had cobbled a case together based on what investigators thought was suspicions and went looking for evidence to fit a narrative rather than keeping an open mind about the myriad of other possibilities to explain the late night heist. The suspicions began about a month after the burglary with Eliza Webster, who was found at the airport with CI $8,000 in cash, including several that were brand new and in sequence and were later found to be part of a delivery to the bank shortly before the burglary. Around 1/3 of the notes Webster was carrying was she headed out with her family on a trip to Miami, could be traced to that cash delivery. However, the Crown could not say with certainty which notes had been stolen. So, in other words, they were generally tracing the cash delivery, but not which specific notes were stolen. So Krista Brady, who represented Eliza Webster, said that the cash delivery was the focus of the Crown's case, included 10,000 different notes. And throughout the trial, none of the witnesses were able to say when or how that cash got into circulation. No evidence was presented to say whether those notes were given out over the bank counter, placed in a cash machine, or were in the drawers from where the cash was stolen on the night of the burglary. This is what the defense case was. When she was arrested, Eliza told police that the money in her possession came partially from savings, the sale of 2 cars, and some side work that her husband was doing, and there was nothing that linked his client to a crime. This is what he said. The Crown contended that Webster's husband, Elton Webster, had acted suspiciously at the airport, and that when his wife was stopped, he had made a run for it, a position he has denied. Summing up her client's case, Amelia Foster-Heaney, who represented Elton Webster, also stressed the view that the Crown had no evidence at all that he had anything to do with the burglary, and had again sought to elevate suspicion to the level of evidence. Witnesses had described men talking outside the bank, but their descriptions did not fit Webster, as what his defense said. In addition, the telephone cell evidence that the Crown said placed Webster at the bank was misleading, because he was at the Hard Rock Cafe at the time, which could have been the same cell site range. So one of them was claiming that he was having an affair, and he was with the girlfriend and didn't want CMR to know. There's some mix-up story. They say that the wife was not going on a shopping spree. So David Bodden was labeled by the Crown as the inside man who set up the situation for his co-defendants by propping open the hall door. He was represented by Prathna Bodden, who said that her client was being punished for working late, and she pointed out that other people were in the bank working late that evening as well, including cleaners and others who had access. While there are rules surrounding security, it appeared that the protocols were not always followed. And although Bodden's fob had been used that night, his attorney argued there was no evidence in which the jury could base a sure conviction that because he was there, he was connected to the theft. Stanton Clark, the other defendant, the Crown said secured a car from a friend for the audacious burglary. He denied having any involvement in the crime, maintaining his position that his side chick, this is the one now with the side chick story, his side chick, a woman described as a friend with benefits, as he was helping her move, and the woman confirmed the alibi to the police. So they said, nope, that's not what happened. They were all friends, and he was using the woman's phone that night to coordinate the theft, which explains why calls were being made to Elton Webster from her phone. But he was trying to say, no, that's not true. She provided him with an alibi. So Clark was represented by Lee Halliday Davis. They all had different attorneys. Also argued the prosecutors were basing their case on what they thought appeared to be suspicious, but it was no real evidence linking Clark to the crime. And then she talked about, not the borrowing of the car wasn't really a sure thing, and yada, yada, yada. Anyway, they had police experts come in about the suspected getaway car, how it was tracked, other visual means such as headlight patterns. This is why now they're using things like, the license plates and cameras and stuff, because they're getting smarter about how to keep up with you all criminals. Clark had bought his main girlfriend a car not long after the burglary for less than $3,000 and said the money had come from a cash pot that he had won while playing numbers. Here's the weird thing about him. You know what tripped him up about buying this girlfriend a car? The girlfriend didn't even drive. She didn't have a driver's license. She didn't know how to drive. So I have it on good authority that people are like thinking to themselves, why would you buy somebody a car who, it's like they just had money to burn all of a sudden. Of all the things, if you won cash pot, right? Of all the things that you could spend your money on, You're going to spend $3,000 on a girlfriend, buying a car for your girlfriend, and she doesn't even have a license and she doesn't even drive. Like, it's just very, very bizarre. Like, the whole thing is like, huh? Weird. Doesn't really make an excuse. Anyway, what a hot mess. All right. In another case, just to give you all a quick update. Remember the guy who was involved in the Tortuga robbery with Eve High Voltage? So he appealed his sentence recently, and his appeal was denied. He appealed how long he got, and the appeal was actually denied by the Court of Appeal. So he's going to stay in jail for the amount of time that he got. He actually got less time than her. I remember this because y'all were like, oh, why did he get less time? Because she was seen as the mastermind, remember, of the situation and not him. So Richard Edward Nash, 28 years old, was convicted of armed robbery back in 2020. And he was sentenced to 12 years and 10 months. And he's failed to get that time reduced. So the court actually published, Court of Appeals published their decision on Friday. So Mr. Nash will be staying in jail. I haven't heard anything about Eve High Voltage appealing hers, but if she does appeal it, I think it would be the same as well. The judge in those cases, it was a Jamaican judge. I can't remember her name now. Oh, Justice Marva McDonald Bishop sentenced them. They had a trial in 2020, and then she sentenced them subsequent to that. She's from Jamaica, but she was very, very meticulous about looking at the evidence and stuff before her, I must say, because I sat through every day of that trial. It was very, very interesting. So his appeal has been denied. All right, folks, lots more things that we'll catch up on over the next couple of days. I am back, honey child. Somebody said that they thought she had appealed. I haven't seen anything come through for hers yet. If she does, then obviously this news, so we will report on it. But yeah. So I shall keep you guys updated, and we'll have some more discussions tomorrow. We got a lot to talk about. There's lots that we missed over the last couple of days. And yeah, we'll make sure we get caught up on all of those things. So tomorrow's Wednesday. So I think that we will do our Cayman Voices segment on Thursday, just to give us another day of catching up, because there's quite a bit of stuff that we need to get caught up on. And then I think tomorrow we're going to have a good chat about the TCI gun case and kind of what has happened there, because they've actually been able to leave the jurisdiction. So we'll talk about that as well. Okay. Right. So thank you guys so much for being so attentive. Siobhan, Strong, Wilt, Sandy Clark, who used to be a police officer. No. Not that Sandy Clark. This is another Stanley. Younger guy. Everton says, if you commit the crime, put your big boy pants on and do the time. Aliano, thank you so much. Miss Brenda, thank you. Says, thanks to that caller. Until you've walked a mile in one's moccasins, do not judge. All right, Miss Yvonne, thank you. Says they've been watching too much Bonnie and Clyde. I know, right? Oh my gosh. Jose says, nice guy. He worked at Kirk Freeport in finance. Which one, the Bodden guy? Well, you can be nice all you want. But at the end of the day, you know, you can't commit crimes because you're going to still go to jail even as a nice guy. Yeah, Gabby, they were trying to put it together. It was not an easy case to solve, by all admittance. So Carlos says, Sandra, seriously, what will happen to me if I come back to Cayman? I have no clue. I'm not sure where the question stems from or why you think something's going to happen to you. Like legally, you should contact a lawyer. Otherwise, contact a professional. I think you've been having some issues with alleged stalking of people. So you might want to talk to the RCIPS and see if they have a warrant out for your arrest, because if they do, they'll probably snag you the second you enter the jurisdiction. So that's a whole other matter. On that note, everybody thinks that home is where the heart is. But some of y'all, I would encourage you to stay exactly where you are. Camana is a hot mess already. Stay in the United States of America. They can handle more of a hot mess than we can. I'm just saying, with their millions of crazy people already, they can absorb it a lot easier. Cayman can't absorb too much more. So even as a Caymanian, if you're on the other side of things, you know, I might just encourage you to stay over there. I'm just saying. Whatever happened to Philip? We're waiting on some updates, strong will, but don't worry. We'll be bringing you more about Mr. Philip in due course. All right. Thank you. Good folks. And I thought that she did appeal. Nope. Don't remember saying it. All right. So thanks very much, folks. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning, bright and early. Get them. Go get them, Auntie. Be good, folks. See you tomorrow morning.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cold Hard Truth on Bobo 89.1 FM. Cayman's #1 talk show is live weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Never miss an episode again. Watch anytime on CMR's Facebook and YouTube channels for the latest show episodes. Don't forget to follow us online on our social media channels. And visit CaymanMarlRoad.com for all the latest news and community happenings.